Hey, tea sippers. Afternoon. What it do? 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 Hey, mysterious. Hey, mysterious. Thank you for the thumbs up. Hey, Janet. What it do? What it do? What it do? I'm back. I was having to. Thank you, Janet. Thank you. Thank y'all for coming in, hitting the like button, and sending some gems. I greatly appreciate it. I had some stuff coming and it got delayed and that made me delay y'all, but let's get to it. Because there is some elite pedophile. Ooh, I paused, didn't I? It's a lot of PDF files going on. And why are they calling them elite? Baby. And guess what? Y'all know I've been saying old girl was a plant. She been knowing DT too long. She was one of his beauty contestants. I didn't get mad. I got all of that good stuff. When my TV provider wanted me to TV provider. Pause. 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 And you know, it's ironic that we just had old girl. She did a reaction of her interview, and I was, you know, it's just something ain't right. She just seemed too dang disconnected from her emotions with him. I just So I was listening last night after we was listening to old boy who went in and he was undercover, right? He was undercover. He busted a whole high dollar, high end. We talking about the betrayal. We talking about the Epstein, Trump, Charlie Kirk. We gonna be talking about Candace, and we talking about Erika Kirk, her being a plant. But this lady right here is who I'm speaking of right now, who, after we watched the members only part 2 of the Paul who went in to Colombia with the children trafficking, I continued to watch after the members only one, and I was listening to her story because there's a lot of elites yeah, but Bondi on the she's possibly one of the childhood products. Quiet as it's kept, her and Erika. But listen, so afterwards, after the members only last night, I went to watching this one, and I heard some very interesting, very dot connecting similarities. So before we chime into Candace, we're going to listen because I want us to understand when I say what I say about Erika Kirk. And when I say that she is a plant and she was a plant for Charlie Kirk, kind of spy-ish like, you'll understand why I was feeling that way. And then once she talks, you will absolutely understand why. Okay? So let's listen to a survivor story and how she was entered into a elite PDF file network. And Janet also, after she won the Trump pageant, she had I think it was Russian, Romania. I'm not sure what child trafficking situation of her own with her nonprofit organization. Let's jump on in, y'all, because I got some other stuff coming today and I got something else to do. Let's go.
Mother and 2 children, boy and girl. My name is Anneke Lucas, and I primarily identify myself as a survivor of child sex trafficking. I grew up in Belgium, and my family was quite normal from the outside. Father, mother, and 2 children, boy and girl. This was my stepfather. My mother actually had me when she was single. My stepfather was the mayor of the village. And
Mayor
so
of
we're
a
not
village.
poor. Growing up for me is in the first years, I had a caretaker when my mother was single, and I was being brought to caretaker every day. I loved her, she loved me, and I was actually very outgoing as a toddler. This caregiver, being in Brussels, which is a bilingual
Come in
town,
hitting the like button,
so
even if you're in the clouds.
French, not Flemish. Even though I was being abused by my mother at the time.
Y'all come in hitting the like button. Even if you're just listening in, double tap the face of your phone or hit the 3 dots at the top. I want us to be clear. After a certain amount of time, I'm going to switch it over to members only if the likes don't go up. Okay? Let's go.
I was also very outgoing, very bossy.
Shout out to Nolans.
And then when my mother married, when I was 4 years
Shout
old.
out to Naturally Nolans. She said, AunTeaFee, your TV too hot for you to go through what you have to go through. Put it on members only. Shout out to her. I don't care how many people are in here. If you cannot respect the tea, then you don't need to be here.
I shut down very much. I lost the woman who loved me, who was like a real mother to me. And we moved to Flanders. I shut down very much. I lost the woman who, even though I was being abused by my mother at the time, I was also very outgoing, very bossy, little girl. And then when my mother married, when I was 4 years old, I shut down very much. I lost the woman who loved me, who was like a real mother to me. And we moved to Flanders. I learned Flemish. But this was the beginning, the onset really of where I was starting to get groomed to be taken into the trafficking network. So I believe that my mother was targeted by the network. Well, we got a cleaning lady.
How you groomed at 4?
My mother now had a son by my stepfather, my brother. The cleaning lady started to offer
yet, but I'll give you to let
with
you
her,
know I'm here. Okay, Mysterious.
And so for 1 year,
thank you.
The cleaning lady and her husband took me to outings. So these
Mysterious said, don't do it, AunTeaFee. I got you, Mysterious. I got you.
Outings, there's lots of children always. They were from Holland. In fact, we went swimming every week. They taught me how to swim. I never liked them. The children seemed to change all the time. They kept saying that there were cousins and nephews and nieces from Holland. And there were definitely Dutch children there, but also Belgian children. And I was rather confused. I was never really allowed to connect with any of these children, but there were many. They did this for about a year before they took me then to the first event in the network. Once I was being taken to the network, my mother actually took over from the pimps. I don't really know what happened exactly, but I tried to tell my mother what had happened to me and the words that I had available to me at that time. And instead of protecting me and taking me, she actually started to drive me herself. I was then trafficked into a pedophile network that actually at the time consisted of...
Did y'all hear that with y'all good ear? Instead of her mom protecting her and removing her birth mother, started pimping her out instead. Stay woke, y'all.
Actually started to drive me herself. I was then trafficked into a pedophile network that actually at the time consisted of the VIPs of the country. The boss of the network was the Minister of National Defense at the time. The people involved, I found out later more than anything, but were all quite powerful, had important posts, and it was a mix of politicians, of high-placed officials, in fact, government officials, clergy, as well as aristocrats. And that was the Belgian network. However, this Belgian network connected to what is an international network. Well, it's very dark what happens inside the network. It's a mafia that uses kids to blackmail people primarily. People get lured in, but of course it takes us that uses kids to blackmail people primarily. People get lured in. Belgian network connected to what is an international network. Well, it's very dark what happens inside the network. It's a mafia that uses kids to blackmail people primarily. People get lured in, but of course it takes a specific kind of person who is going to go that way, who's not going to stop themselves before they end up in bed with a child. Everybody was in each other's pocket and nobody was free anymore. So first this husband of the...
You hear a pattern? Blackmail, everybody's in everybody's pocket. Yeah. Lured in.
End up in bed with a child. Everybody was in each other's pocket and nobody was free anymore. So first this husband of the cleaning lady to me, and I was just around my 6th birthday.
6.
So I was brutally... Then they took me to what was an orgy in a castle. And it was extremely confusing because it was a masked ball or something. It was masked. And so people were all dressed like hippies. That was the first time. And it was extreme. And it was clear, it was made clear from the start that if I were to speak out, then not only I would be killed, but anybody, I would definitely be killed if I spoke out. And that was made clear. Not long after that, my mother got a driver's license. She couldn't drive. She just got a driver's license without taking lessons. She got a car without having taken lessons, so she got the only available automatic car at that time, which was a Dutch car. So she was very excited. She actually took me to the registrar office, the sort of Belgian DMV, which was at the town hall, to get her driver's license because she was really proud. And then she started to drive me to the network herself. My mother had a contact who was a woman from a noble family, and I've seen them talk to this countess, which made no sense at all. This countess would have never addressed those people, or would have really not ever addressed my mother either. But my mother sort of bragged about her relationship with this countess. I was 6 when it started, and for the first 3 years I was used as what was called an expendable child. Because my mother and father were themselves not part of this network, as other parents were, they could do anything with me. In the Belgian network, there was a group, particularly aristocrats, who killed children. So a few times I was in situations like that I just happened to not be killed. So in this network, you have to understand it's a murderous network. Expendable children, that means that they can be killed. That's to say, it was clear that their lives wasn't valued, so those children could be used for anything. That could mean they could be used for torture and killing. So it's very hard to talk about what happened to me during those first 3 years because it was very extreme. So I was in quite a few extreme situations. I was sometimes taken to bars and given to the men there, but other times I was taken to castles and then waiting with a handler until the people, until the first group of people had left, and then at the late hour, the younger children were brought in. Sometimes I was taken to somebody's house for the day. My mother.
Okay, I want to make sure that y'all are listening with your good ear. Aristocrats would unalive children. You were extendable, expendable. And also, it would be more than one groups. Y'all remember when they talk about Diddy, they would say that he would have a regular party, kids and stuff was invited, and then it would carry over into another phase, and the kids would leave unless they were workers. Pay attention. There's a pattern.
They could be used for torture and killing. So it's very hard to talk about what happened to me during those first 3 years because it was very extreme. So I was in quite a few extreme situations. I was sometimes taken to bars and given to the men there, but other times I was taken to castles and then waiting with a handler until the people, until the first group of people had left, and then at the late hour, the younger children were brought in. Sometimes I was taken to somebody's house for the day. My mother would keep me out of school and then just drive me to somebody's house. And then whatever was necessary, I have remembered things about being in extreme situations where other children did die. So my mother was being paid for this. What would happen then with an expendable child is the parents get paid. Of course, there's no contract. Nothing is in writing.
Her mother was her pimp. Her mother was her pimp.
Necessary. I have remembered things about being in extreme situations where other children did die. So my mother was being paid for this. What would happen then with an expendable child is the parents get paid. Of course, there's no contract. Nothing is in writing. It's all very vague. My mother's denial itself took care of a lot, but there was money exchanged, and her contact person was this countess. But let's say if I would have been killed and other children were, then a doctor who was part of the network would have been able to write a death certificate, and bring up. So in 1972, I was traded by the boss of the network to an international player, somebody who was in the international network that the boss of the network wanted to do business with, wanted to be in their good favor, because this was someone who had global power. And this person apparently had this countess ask my mother who my father was, and also they drew blood. Anyway, they found out that I'm from one of the bloodlines, which is something that in this global network is very important. So this perpetrator then decided that he was going to get me trained, that's to say, mind control trained, which is torture-based, and to make me...
Mind control. Do y'all remember that mind control stuff? What is it? MK Ultra. Y'all remember the MK Ultra? So when she say mind control, I'm hearing MK Ultra. That's what Candace Owens made mention of. She made mention of it. Also, she made mention that Yay. A was a victim, and somehow he stopped taking the medicine, refused it. But MK Ultra, the mind control. On the cool, I don't know if we realize it or not, but on the cool with the control narratives and Trump and his political party and cabinet making America great again, their manipulation with the Zionists as well as Bibi Netanyahu and his crew. That's their attempt. When you try to rewrite the Bible and have Christians thinking that we have to be pro Israel, and if not, we are not following the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're not supporting Israel. So when they push that pro Israel, pro Israel, pro Israel, that's mind control. Imagine how many people, if we ever did the numbers, really believed that they were supporting the Bible, that it was biblical. And, it just never made sense to me, especially when I found out 1948 was the creation, and it was created not by God word, not someone passing the message through God. No, the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds, who is trying to create a new world order. Off our dime. Off our tax-paying dollars. And they are and have manipulated us into thinking that it's scripture, and it's not.
An elite slave, and to even give me a platform on the world stage is very important. So this perpetrator then decided that he was going to get me trained, that's to say, mind control trained, which is torture based, and to make me an elite slave, and to even give me a platform on the world stage so I could be an elite slave to the most powerful men in the world. So elite slaves are trained, most of them are trained from a very young age, and they can be people who are actually famous, but are actually being used as slaves because it's all about the same kind of mafiosi style. I was being trained to spy, and also I was literally trained to make men fall in love with me at age 9. It was about...
Bam. AunTeaFee, what? Yes, I'm just staring. Bam, right there. At age 9, she became a spy and was taught how to make men fall in love with her. All I could hear when I heard that was Erika Kirk. She was a plant. I've already said this, so this is nothing new. This is nothing new to me. I've already said it, and I've said it more than once. I felt like she was a plant. She was a plant from the Trumps because that's who she knew first. She'd been knowing them since she was in her late teens that we know of. We don't know when. Well, it could have been earlier because her father was on the board or worked for I don't know if it's the architect. He had a job with the Trump Foundation. So Erika Kirk and her family have been affiliated with the Trumps long before she won the pageant. Let's be clear. So I've always kind of felt like she was a plant by way of Trump. Just like Trump's daughter, Ivanka, and Jared. Yeah, they were arranged. Erika Kirk was sent to be able to spy on Charlie Kirk, probably high dab, with the intent of taking over his multi-million-dollar business. Pour money into him, donate, yeah. Make him think we're a part of what they got going on. Give them money so that we can eventually take it away. Y'all better stay woke, baby. That's why it always say Trump, Charlie Kirk betrayal, or Trump betrayed Charlie Kirk. Stay woke. So she was trained to be a spy at age 9 and taught how to make men fall in love with her. Let's go.
Slave. And to even give me a platform on the world stage so I could be an elite.
Is that not Erika? She won the pageant. She was given a platform, the Trump pageant. Then she went on to start up a non-profit with kids, something angels that wind up being linked to trafficking. Russia. Now, didn't Trump go? I mean, did he? In a few, Jay-Z go over to Russia? Y'all better stay woke, man. Let's go.
Slave to the most powerful men in the world. So elite slaves are trained, most of them are trained from a very young age. And they can be people who are actually famous, but are actually being used as slaves because it's all about the same kind of mafiosi style. I was being trained to spy.
Well, they all are affiliated with the Zionists. Is it Tahisha? Yeah. Yeah, the same people who created the 1948 Israel, who created the banking system, the IRS, all of it. They started the Zionists as well. Yeah, same thing. He has been linked to them for years. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And also I was
So pro is because we have to remember BB not gonna sue me, Netanyahu. He lived in New York and in Philly. I mean, people just want to relate to him as Israel. Yeah, but no, he was born in Poland. He's Polish. He changed his name. He's a Milanowski. He changed his name. A lot of them do. A lot of them do. So, yeah, Bibi Netanyahu, he, again, has an American name with an American social security number. And he has some high-level clearance, maybe CIA or FBI or intelligence. It's all one big circle. It's all full circle.
slaves because it's all about the same kind of mafiosi
No, he's not
style.
Jewish.
I was being trained to spy and also.
And Trump is from Germany, and Netanyahu, Poland. That's not Jewish. Is not their drug of choice or their religion of choice or whatever. Yeah, no. This is all a part of taking over, redeveloping. So I guess where Christians were promised a new heaven, you know, whatever it is that they have in their mind that they're recreating. So their plan is to knock us off and then start over in a new world, which would be the New World Order. And if you give any resistance, take them out. Don't we see that now? So I'm just waiting to hear when they come back with opening up the snaps. Are they going to require you to have some type of code or some type of what? Chip? What? I mean, when is that coming? I hope I don't see it, because that means I would have got left behind. Lord, please forgive me of all my sins, whatever I've done, knowing and unknowing, because I don't want to be here to see it. I'm just trying to forewarn the people before it comes. Get the likes up, y'all. I promise I'm not playing.
People who are actually famous, but are actually being used as slaves. Some of them are trained from a very young age. And they can be people who are actually famous, but are actually being used as slaves, because it's all about the same kind of mafiosi style. I was being trained to spy, and also I was literally trained to make men fall in love with me at age 9. It was about a month long initially, but it was really a year long. The whole training was a year long, and meanwhile I was already being used. I was taken to Germany on weekends and spent it with someone who I realized later was a very big politician in Germany at the time. I mean, I was, not only did he really like me, but I was also spying on him, and I was reporting about his weakness then to who had become my owner, which was this international network. Basically, when I was going to Germany on the weekends with this, being driven there by handlers of the Belgian network and then dropped off in places, picked up by on the side of the road, actually on a quiet road, by this politician, and then I would just simply drive with him. And so, because I had been trained, I knew how to not be, not call attention to myself. He would check in, and this was very similar each time. It was always very idyllic, beautiful places on the beautiful rivers in Germany, in some small hotel pension, and there's maybe 3 or 4 rooms, and so he would have the whole hotel to himself, but we would sleep in the same bed. And then, of course, it would be all, it was all about pleasing him, and for him, I know that there was a great joy, or
9
maybe
years
pleasure
old.
is the right word, in having these people, just fawn all over him and be so
Thank you,
grateful
Tahisha.
and lucky that this
Thank you for the
very
flowers.
important person is visiting them and is gracing them with his presence. And they would say that, if anything, he would say that I'm his niece. But of course, my German, I mean, he actually taught me to speak German, this politician. I mean, better. I didn't really speak it very well. So when we were alone, there was a lot about, so I had a lot to do about, he was also just very happy. He seemed just very happy to be around a little girl that was there for him in this way that I was, just listening. I thought, I thought he was great, and he was a really good man, and that was my training, of course, as a slave, is to flatter him to the max, so that he would feel really good about himself, and that's how he got to feel good about himself. And so he clearly enjoyed the physical closeness a lot, and the warmth, and what then appeared to be love for him, I think. So this 1 year was very peculiar, that I was actually being...
Wow. I promise. All I can hear is Trump. Oh my God. Oh, these people love me. They love me. They love me. When they asked him, did he have an age limit? First he said no, then he said, well, 12. Oh my God. I promise every time she talks right now, I'm hearing Trump. And this guy's German too. Oh my God. Oh my God. Anyway. And his papa had a brothel.
Self. And so he clearly enjoyed the physical closeness a lot, and the warmth, and what then appeared to be love for him, I think. So this 1 year was very peculiar, that I was actually being groomed then on a big scale. And my owner, if I can say that, obviously this person who wanted to own me as a slave had plans for me, and this was discussed even with other people in the network. So it was decided I was going to be a star in France. Everyone was treating me like a star. That's really all I can say.
Oh,
And
she was
I
pretty.
had somebody who was giving me facial massage, and this was discussed even with other people in the network. So it was decided I was going to be a star in France. Everyone was treating me like a star. That's really all I can say. And I had somebody who was giving me facial massages. This was discussed even with other people in the network. So it was decided I was going to be a star in France. Everyone was treating me like a star. That's really all I can say. And I had somebody who was giving me facial massages, other massages, but nothing creepy about these massages. There was a photographer, nothing creepy about the photographs, even though I was naked. Everybody was just making me into what I was to become, which was a French singer. There was a singing coach there, actually, and I was, again, there was nothing I could do wrong. Everything was positive. So there was no correction. It wasn't really correction. Everything was, it's like kind of how we are taught now to treat our kids, to just focus on the positive. But I
Oh,
never
wow,
experienced
Lady
that before. And suddenly
Shireen.
there's this voice coach, and he brings out the best out of my
Wow.
voice, the purity of the voice, and teaching me to sing for certain songs, again through
And
repetition,
hello.
certain French songs, Edith Piaf, Jacques
Oh,
Brel, and I was singing these songs.
that is horrible. That is just horrible. So I wonder, Lady Shireen, if they don't get it, uh, are they still able to get the snaps in the UK? I mean, since it's on a volunteer basis, so they're trying to see how many people will go for it to see if that's something that they will be enforcing. But if people don't go for it, don't volunteer for it, then they may not roll it out. Oh, wow. Y'all listen. If they try that volunteer stuff in the US, everybody better say no. Don't nobody volunteer for that. Wow. Thank you for that, Lady Shireen. Can you please hit the like button? I would greatly appreciate it. Y'all hit the like button.
And it was easy. The French came back very easily. Eventually, I was going to be inducted into the cult. And so
Inducted
repetition,
into the
certain French
cult.
songs, Edith Piaf, Jacques Brel, and I was singing these songs, and it was easy. The
Oh,
French came back
wow.
very easily. Eventually, I was going to be inducted into the cult. And so being inducted into the cult eventually was sort of my graduation, I guess, or it was to be the beginning of my new life, let's say. And there's been a lot of talk during that year about what my life was going to be, how comfortable, the most beautiful apartments in Paris, the best house on the Côte d'Azur, the yacht, the respect, the platform. Everybody would think I was the best singer, actress in the world, and I would get all the magazine out. It was all prepared, and it was just that what I had to do to belong eventually was just too much. I rebelled and was kicked out. Basically, I was reprogrammed, and I was extremely humiliated. And
Okay, Slammy Dog. Did you hit the like button? And that's not the topic that we're on. Okay? Stick to the topic, please. I'm going to time you out. Put you in the corner for a minute. Stick to the topic, please.
punished, and this was reprogramming to make sure I would never become
Government
successful.
opening again
After I
tomorrow.
was put back in the Belgian network, the Belgian Belgians never really discovering what had actually happened to me, used me for their VIPs then. But a young gangster came into the network, and he had power in the Belgian network because he wasn't afraid to use a gun. But eventually, a year later, he ended up rescuing me. So now it's back to my mother driving me to the network, and once this gangster showed up, things changed a little bit because he would keep me longer and so forth than usual, and so
Hey,
also
Willie
groomed me
Spencer.
for 6 months, in fact, and started by protecting me and then ended up abusing me worse than anybody else. Such violence and and then, you know, that would have resulted.
Okay, so y'all, who does this sound like? So her new handler. I'm sorry, I just popped in a topic for later. Okay. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so she just talked about this new thug that wasn't afraid to use the gun. Started out her protector, started out sweet and loving, and then became violent. Turned into the worst one. Who does that sound like? I don't heard the Epstein, you know, and her mom kind of sound like Elaine. I don't heard the Trump type character. Who does this character sound like?
And then, you know, that would have resulted
Absolutely,
in my being
Lady
murdered.
Shireen.
And then he had a change of heart.
Oh, hold on. Absolutely.
And then he made it to you. And then, you know, that would have resulted in also groomed me for 6 months, in fact, and started by protecting me and then ended up abusing me worse than anybody else. Such violence and then, you know, that would have resulted in my being murdered. And then he had a change of heart. And then he made it to you with the boss of the network to get me out. The physical circumstances of this gangster's name is Patrick Hammers. And
oh, she gave a name.
The politician who was in charge of the network is Paul van den Boeynants, who had a long career in politics in Belgium, and the gangster had
Jay-Z's hadn't came out just yet. Definitely sound like Diddy.
A fascinating career in crime. And the deal in 1974 that was made when this gangster was 22 years old, I think, or 23, was that he was going to work for the politician to get me out. He was going to become his whatever left-hand man. And what he did at age 11 is he gave me instructions for life, and they were extremely detailed. He told me never to become to never sleep with anyone for anything, never do it, that I should not become a drug addict, that I should never buy, that I could take drugs if they were given to me, but I could never do anything to get them. He told me I should not become an alcoholic. I could have a little.
Now, are y'all listening to what? See, you know, when she done went through these men, it kind of make it seem like she's if she's not a teenager, like 18, 17, 18, maybe 19. But this guy here, the Diddy type guy, she just 11. She thinking that he is going to rescue her. Age 11. And then he becomes worse. Then he started turning like Woody Allen. Then he want to help her. Yeah. How many of them done had nieces? I mean, because people think Woody Allen married his niece. No, he didn't. He married a trafficked young lady, a kid. You know who else they say was his niece or granddaughter? Morgan Freeman. These people don't be related to them. They trafficked. This girl was 11.
Wine here and there, that I should never drink too much. No hard liquor, once a week for hard liquor, or some crazy rule like that. He told me that I should leave the country, that I should leave Belgium, that I have to go to Paris, London, New York. I have to settle in New York, and I should marry someone who is not an older man who made his own fortune, but someone my age who is from a wealthy family, preferably a family of New York bankers. This all came out of his mouth
Bankers.
as he was basically driving me home the last time.
Banker.
And of course, it included to never speak about the network, never say anything to anyone, just never do it. And these life instructions, they settled very deeply inside myself, because he had done this one good act in his life. You know, he had done this thing that was selfless for me, and it was in very dramatic circumstances, and these directions became sort of my guidelines for life, that really got me through, that really helped me. He also gave me some to deal with my mother in the coming weeks, in the weeks that would follow, because he knew she would be angry that she couldn't take me to the network anymore. And he told me to try to leave that house as soon as I could. So once I was rescued from the network, I really was never trafficked again. I followed those guidelines that had been given to me very, very closely.
Her
So
mother
at age
was going to be
16,
mad.
I actually ended up in the...
At 16, he told her that your mother was going to be mad that she could no longer traffic her to the network. I guess she had too many miles on her, so he was sending her on about her way. So this was a good deed for all the bad that he has done. He gave her instructions to live by, to go and don't look back. Ugh. Oh yeah, I know. But people want to act like these people's parents. Fergie took her daughters, Prince Andrew's daughters, to Epstein. That was the first visitors once he was out of prison the first time. Why would she take her daughters to Epstein? Yeah, because her money was funny. So she pimped her daughters.
For me, and it was in very dramatic circumstances, and these directions became sort of my guidelines for life. That really got me through, that really helped me. He also gave me some to deal with my mother in the coming weeks, in the weeks that would follow, because he knew she would be angry that she couldn't take me to the network anymore.
Thank you, Kane Life.
He told me to try to leave that house.
Thank you for the high five.
So once I was rescued from the network, I really was never trafficked again. I followed those guidelines that had been given to me very, very closely. So at age 16, I actually ended up in the red light district in Antwerp. And because of this direction, I never slept with anyone. I was able to reach high functioning levels again, and not just function well in society, but have more empathy and love for people, and really heal as a human being and as a soul. And I think it's important to look and uncover this darkness, however hard that is for each person, before we can actually create that change. And I think ultimately we are the ones that need to change.
Wow. Wow. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but that told me a lot. That told me a lot. It connected some dots, and it told me a lot. And yes, I still hear Erika Kirk, possibly a plant. That's why she's not connected, and her emotions that she should have for Charlie Kirk, she don't have. And it's still about business and moving forward with Turning Point USA, and um, validating, not questioning, looking over. It's just, I mean, I would not want to be married to anybody who could mourn me. And even if you couldn't or didn't want to, then don't go out speaking publicly where people can see your lack of empathy, love, concern, or any of that. I mean, it just really looks forced and staged, practiced and rehearsed. Way too intense. Way over, I don't even know. It's not just drama, because it's just too much of something and not enough of something else. But let's go. Let's hear this. I haven't listened to this, so let's hear what they're talking about. Let's go. This is Candace with somebody else. She was a guest on a David Smith.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Part of the Problem. Ooh, do we have a good one for you today? Very quickly, before we get the show started, I do want to remind everyone, well, thank you so much, I should say, to everybody who's already pre-ordered my amazing wife's wonderful new children's book, which was up at the top of the new releases for children's books on the Amazon
I don't know
charts.
anything
Healthy
about that.
by way of deception. It's just, anyway, okay, that was funny to me. Moving on from talking about one mother to another one, my good friend, Candace Owens, who has been just on fire in a way that is hard, almost impossible to overstate over the last, I mean, really, look, you've been a huge force in conservative media for many years now. Over the last couple years, after, leaving, parting ways with the Daily Wire, you got even bigger. But now, just over this last stretch, you've really become the mover of the narrative, at least on the conservative side of the aisle. And I really, I've talked to Tucker this week, and I really wanted to talk to you also about this massive kind of cancellation attempt. So, Candace Owens, thank you so much for coming on the show. Great to see you.
I'm so excited to do it. One day we're going to have to do it in person, but on your show, but yeah. I'm excited to be back.
Well, next time we're in the same city, we'll make sure that happens, whoever show it's on. Maybe we'll do it on your show, seeing how big that show is these days. I should probably be focused on that one. It has been, there's been something that, I've been thinking a lot about this, because obviously there's been this big cancellation attempt, primarily against you and Tucker, although by proxy, I guess I've been caught up in it a bit. Obviously, both you and Tucker, Tucker was fired from Fox News, you were fired from the Daily Wire, both went on to be much bigger after getting canned, and yet now there's this attempt again to cancel you, and we're all kind of wondering, from what? What would you even cancel them from? And I just thought, I was very close friends with Joe Rogan when he was going through that major cancellation attempt in the 22, in the height of COVID insanity. I was the first one on his podcast after all that stuff really went down, and I was out doing shows with him. And I remember at the time having this feeling where all of them kind of hadn't admitted it yet, The corporate media hadn't admitted that Joe Rogan is the biggest thing in media. They did eventually after the 2024, but at the time it was like so weird because you're like, wait, Brian Stelter is trying to cancel Joe Rogan? Doesn't he know? And so anyway, as Mark Levin is openly calling for you and Tucker's cancellation, and Dinesh D'Souza, people like this are openly calling, it is just funny because you're like, objectively right now, you and Tucker are the two biggest conservative political commentators. This is just undeniable. And so their plan right now is we want to cancel number one and number two. This is just like, how do you even get away with doing that when the people have already told you they're on their side, not yours? Right. What's it been like for you to just kind of watch this?
We are absolutely, let me say this, I mean, no disrespect to neither one of them, but right now, we are on the side of the truth. Period. It's just cut and dry. Who telling us the truth? Who is lying? Who is uncovering what has been covered up? Who have our best interests at heart? Who is taking ownership of what's going on, and they know because they were actively a part of it. So I would rather listen to someone who got out for a reason versus someone who stayed in for a reason. Somebody gave up opportunity, funds, sponsorship, all of that, and someone stayed in the deceit for the same reasons. So who are we going to listen to? If you're wise, and a true believer in Christ, who are you going to listen to? Because I don't have a problem with Charlie Kirk, but once I listened to him talk, it was like, no, what is this? Who is he? This is not true. Whoa, why are they acting like he is the second coming? I mean, wait a minute. So he was a pump the brakes. Something ain't right. So I'm saying this to say they're number one, number two, because they are the ones who have decided to tell the truth and expose Bibi Netanyahu, the pro-Israel, Trump, because she was an active supporter. The Zionists, she was an active supporter and a voice for it all. So was Charlie Kirk. Until something was revealed to him, he backed up and put the car in reverse, and they took him out. Simple as that. So in essence, he died for the truth. Can I say it again for the ones in the back? Once he realized what was really going on, he put the car in reverse, backed that thing up, never wanted to go forward again, and they took him out. Let's go.
Well, yesterday was a fantastic day. I mean, to get the email
Hey, Samantha.
from SUBCRIBE,
The
number
tea is
one
hot.
podcast in the world, and of course, I am humbled by it truly, because the audience is the reason. Like, this truly was a free market response, and to go back and find the people who worked day in and day out to ruin my life. It wasn't like they just wanted me gone from the Daily Wire, which they got and they celebrated and effectively danced on my grave. it wasn't, they then were trying to get my speaking events canceled. They were the ones that put pressure on Charlie not to let me speak. And I said to him, dude, I got enough going on. Like, I don't want you to also just by proxy catch a flame because they want to cancel me. They got me banned from Australia. I had to cancel a tour, right? Simply because I didn't agree with Israel.
No, I
think that
didn't,
I
Lady
harmed somebody,
Shireen.
by having a different opinion. And I think the reason why yesterday was such a win was precisely because
I'll
they
check
worked
it
so
out.
hard and tried to destroy me.
Y'all
And
hit
we
the
saw
like
that.
button.
That's where their true hatred and vitriol is coming from, is the fact that we survived a virtual assassination attempt, right? It's like we shouldn't have survived it. But given
I'm an hour in. Double tap the face of your phone if that's what you're listening to the T on, or hit the thumbs up, the three dots at the top right. Get them up. For those who have already done so, please go take a water break, piss break, whatever. Go get you a bite of your donut or whatever. Check on your food. Give them a little time. I gotta get some of mine. What is this? Rapid hydration. I got something new, y'all. Get the likes up. Can y'all see that? I'm gonna take it down. I'm gonna give me a sit and get hydrated, baby. Cause it look like it may be about to get hot up in her. Up in here. New rapid hydration. This is something new. Y'all double tap the face of y'all screen. And get the likes up. Ooh. Let's see what Woo, let's go. I had some leftover a lobster omelet. Yummy, yum, yum. Um, Hi John, how are you? Did you hit the like button? You did you hit the like button? Did you double tap or hit the thumbs up? Let's go, y'all.
Everything they did. And even the element of how they wanted me to be fired, like the element of surprise for Tucker to be
Okay,
fired.
thank you.
He's doing his show on a Tuesday, suddenly on a Wednesday, he doesn't get to say goodbye to his audiences. I really do believe even that was a part of their like sadistic effort to be like, you are no more. And so, yeah, it feels good. And I'm really happy to say all I did was commit to the truth and I didn't allow peer pressure to succumb to something that's actually evil. Like, we're not even, it's like, do you agree that Palestinians should be genocided? No. Okay, well then you're going to be canceled. You're never going to be on a Republican stage ever again. Okay, bye. I'll just do my own show. Okay, you're not going to be allowed to speak at the CPAC or the RNC. You're not going to get an invite to the White House. Okay, bye. I'd like to keep my morals and my principles in line. If I never get to go to Mar-a-Lago again, at least I can lay my head in the pillow and know that I'm not cheering for children to die, irrespective of whether they're Palestinian or Israeli.
So we know exactly who she's talking about right now, huh?
And so I think also something that's important to remember, Dave, is these people who say all I did was commit to the truth and I didn't allow peer pressure to succumb to something that's actually evil. Like, we're not even, it's like, do you agree that Palestinians should be genocided? No. Okay, well then you're going to be canceled. You're never going to be on a Republican stage ever again. Okay, bye. I'll just do my own show. Okay, you're not going to be allowed to speak at the CPAC or the RNC. You're not going to get an invite to the White House. Okay, bye. I'd like to keep my morals and my principles in line. If I never get to go to Mar-a-Lago again, at least I can lay my head in the pillow and know.
So is she trying to imply that like majority of Republicans are okay with the genocide? I mean, yeah, I agree, John.
Didn't
Wow.
allow peer pressure to succumb to something that's actually evil. Like, we're not even, it's like, do you agree that Palestinians should be genocided? No. Okay, well then you're going to be canceled. You're never going to be on a Republican stage ever again. Okay, bye. I'll just do my own show. Okay, you're not going to be allowed to speak at the CPAC or the RNC. You're not going to get an invite to the White House. Okay, bye. I'd like to keep my morals and my principles in line. If I never get to go to Mar-a-Lago again, at least I can lay my head in the pillow and know that I'm not cheering for children to die, irrespective of whether they're Palestinian or Israeli. I'm not going to root on children dying. And so I think also something that's important to remember is these people do not believe in the free markets. That's the number one thing to remember. They want people to be artificially pushed out of the free markets so that they can say they're number one. They love a world where, like what happened back, what was it, in 2020, when people were getting knocked off of platforms left and right. Maybe it was earlier than that, actually. It was before Trump was president. They love that world where you're artificially kicking out the gateway pundits. You're not allowed to be on Facebook anymore. You're artificially kicking out Alex Jones. You're not allowed to have a platform. And then they go, we're number one. We are the number one most listened to conservative news podcaster. It's like, no, you're not. There's no market. That's what they want right now. They want their market to be restricted so that they can be number one again.
And they want AI because nobody can tell them no. No, nobody. There's no competition. There is no fact. It's just whatever they feed it is what it's going to say. That's the answer. What was officially Candace's number? Oh yeah, last week. Yeah, it was announced. Yeah, yeah.
That's right. And because in a way, if they make, look, if the punishment, let's say like for whatever, like it was in the old guard, where like if you canceled someone, that was it. There wasn't like another, they couldn't just go start their own podcast or something. Like when Bill O'Reilly got fired from Fox News, I mean, I guess he did go start a podcast, but even back then it was like, it just wasn't as big of a market. And also his audience was a lot older. They weren't getting into like the technology. So he goes from being a guy who's speaking to like 5 million people a night to being a guy who's speaking to like 80,000 people when he does a show. And that's like, that sucks. And, you know, you could see where the pressure would be like, hey, look, are you sure you want to say this one thing that'll piss everybody off? Because then you lose the right to say all the other things that you also might think are important. And you make people make these calculations in their mind. But you going to number one, it's like, oh no, not only is there not a price to be paid, there's a reward in the market for people going like, oh yeah, she stood up for what was right. And as you talk, like when you get down to the specifics of it, what you're talking about is like, I mean, I don't know, me and you've been reading the news for 2 years on this. You're talking about what? Children being shot at as they desperately try to get food because they've been starving for days. Like, I'm sorry, the American right wing is still made up of a lot of Christians and a lot of people who are just like, what? No, they're decent people. They're
Real
not gonna
Christians.
go along with this. And the thing is, like, they kind of never got presented the opportunity to hear from people who were going to make that argument. And you've been a part of this huge, like, test study of like, well, how would it work if there was actually a market? And yes, I think it's incredibly rewarding for me to see you being the number one podcast, because it shows that, like, yeah, like, you demonstrated that people could have the courage to say the right thing, and then the audience demonstrated that, like, yeah, and there's a lot of people who will have your back if you do that. I just think that's a great precedent to be.
Absolutely. Bless her. You know, kind of got to say thank God that he used her as the vessel. I mean, talk about turning point. I mean, you know, I know it's kind of cliche, but actually, it was a turning point that she made a moral decision to stand up and be bold for the truth. In her learning, in her growth, in her coming to terms with her taking ownership, you know, being responsible. Absolutely a turning point. So we listen more than we ever listened before. She has more listeners now than she did before because she is exposing the truth. And I am so happy, so absolutely happy for her that she is not erasing her part in the cult. She was a part of it. She takes ownership of that. She takes ownership of that. And that is responsible and respectable. So shout out to Candace and Tucker. I don't listen to Tucker as much as I listen to Candace because I saw a transformation in her. I never saw it in Tucker. I never followed him. So shout out to her. You can send it to my IG, John. You can send it to my IG, which is under, you can send me a message under my IG under Fee about the facts. Not Auntie, just Fee about the facts.
It is, and I'm so grateful because I want to remind people, you might think of me now as anti-Israel, but when they came after my entire life, I just wanted to learn about the topic. I actually didn't have a perspective, but I knew that I didn't know everything. And they were just so vicious with, no, you have to come out and you have to say these things. And I was like, look, I don't know anything about this. Let me speak to speak to other people. Like, I watched Bassem go viral, the clip go viral where he was holding up the chart, and I was going, whoa, that is kind of crazy. Are this many Gazans dying? Then I went back and I watched some old content of you on Joe Rogan speaking about the topic. Then I hosted you at the Daily Wire, and that was a big wake-up call. And I really was coming from a place that's still one of my favorite episodes. I think they pulled all the content down, but just learning about Middle Eastern politics. I'm not presenting myself as an expert, and I think that is what also the market is responding to, is at least I want to learn. At least I am showing that I will correct where I was wrong. I was working for PragerU, Daily Wire. I was working with Zionists. I obviously had no hatred in my heart towards the Zionist cause. And then it was just asking the question. Like, I was messaging with Max Blumenthal because, you know, strange allies, right? And he has done some really incredible work. And I went back and I found these messages from a time where I simply retweeted Max Blumenthal on something that he said about Kyrie Irving that I agreed on. So it wasn't even about Israel. And I got messages, like all I can tell you is like Agent Smith. I sent it to him. It's crazy. Like Marissa Straight, Dave Rubin. And I actually apologized to them because I was like, wow, this guy must literally be Hitler. Like I didn't know. I just saw it trending and I retweet him. That's what kind of goes on behind the scenes. Like they are actually presenting themselves as free speech thinkers, and then they put pressure on people and tell them, hey, even listening or retweeting Max Blumenthal, may not know it. And they told me this. He's an anti-Semite. Like he's a committed anti-Semite. Max Blumenthal. Like so, it's a different time now, and that sort of we're gonna tell you what to think and you're going to like it is not like people aren't buying it anymore.
All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Cove and Ben Shapiro and even Steven Crowder and like a lot of guys like this who really OVEPU, and there was a lot of problem to get 200. All right, let's get back into the show. Yeah, no, that's right. And I think one of like there's a lot that's just been revealed, and there was a lot of things about like even the conservatism Inc. online type people like Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro and even Steven Crowder and like a lot of guys like this who really rose to prominence.
Thank you.
During the craziest woke years.
Thank you. Let's say proud of you. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Mwah. Thank you. Thank you.
They were kind of the figures who were speaking up against the insanity, like being like, no, actually, you're a dude in a dress, you're not a chick. And, that was necessary to some degree. It was pretty crazy what was going on in college campuses, and the whole left-wing wokeism stuff in general was crazy. But because that was the dynamic, and because for whatever reason, while tons of other right-wingers were being deplatformed, those were the ones who weren't, and in fact were very pushed by the YouTube algorithm and stuff. I mean, I remember for years, I always hated Ben Shapiro, and for years YouTube was like, I know you want to watch Ben Shapiro, and I was like, I do not. I've never told you that, YouTube, but YouTube kept insisting I did. I was aware.
Yeah, you do.
Well, I was aware of this because I've been talking about lately because I was a Ron Paul supporter back in the day, and I remember Ben Shapiro saying like that Ron Paul wants to strangle Jews and that he's a vicious anti-Semite, and it'd be like, whoa, like, and you realize you're like, oh, it was easy in those years for them to pretend like that wasn't actually all they cared about. But actually, that's all they care about. And I mean all they care about. And this has been revealed. This is the thing with the neocons. This is why even the original core neocon group, they were all a bunch of commies who then became Democrats, who then became Republicans, and then became Democrats again. And why they when they were George W. Bush Republicans, they were like, marriage is between a man and a woman, and our culture is getting out of it, because they just thought that was the best way to get votes for their wars. And then when Donald Trump ran against Hillary Clinton, they went, okay, she likes the wars, we'll go support Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Marriage,
That's exactly
gay marriage,
right.
anyone who's against gay marriage is a homophobe or whatever. Like, but they don't actually. And so, look, just think about it, right? Why would someone like Ben Shapiro, at the very least, wouldn't he have liked a lot of things about Ron Paul? Oh, he's the most fiscal conservative guy. He's the strict constitutionalist. He's a devout Christian who, believes in traditional values. There's a million different things that you would look. You would go, oh, I like a lot of his thing. I do disagree with him on foreign policy. Nope. He's evil. As soon as you're not on board with Israel and Israel's wars, you're evil. And I think part of what happened here is that you, just by doing what you did, it demonstrated that not only, it's not like it went from like, Candace is great, she's been heroic on all these issues, we really disagree with her on this one. It went, all of that's gone. In one day, you go from being like our favorite person who we champion, who we put billboards up on, to you are the most vicious, evil human being in the world, for saying, I just had some babies, and I'm seeing this mom holding her dead babies, and I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, what would it be like to hold your dead baby? Jeez, that's horrible. Like, that's enough to make, and just people seeing that, like, can't pretend they're not seeing what they're watching.
Right.
It's so true. That is how gentle it was. I had seen it was a dead Palestinian child, and she looked like my daughter, and I was going, well, this is crazy. Like, this is not just a black and white issue. I need to actually learn about this issue. And as soon as you express a feeling, I describe it very much. It is a psychological operation that is meant to break you. And there's no question in my mind that they had done experiments to see. I mean, this is really going back to what Kanye was saying, and he's not the greatest orator of our time, but this is what he was describing was happening to him in Hollywood, where he was this is what he was trying to break free from. And of course, he notoriously says, I'm about to go DEFCON 3 on some Jews, and they made it seem like he had tanks, and he was going to come in, and he was going to start just like lighting up Jews in Los Angeles. But in reality, everyone ignored the fact that Harley Pasternak was, and this is one of the people he was referring to. He was also referring to at that time Scooter Braun. Justin Bieber has now kind of said things about Scooter Braun. Who knows what's true and what's not? I mean, I've had friendly conversations with Scooter, so I don't have a horse in the race. But the point is he was trying to say that there is this psychological operation that sweeps in if you do not actually peddle certain talking points or certain perspectives, particularly in Hollywood. I didn't understand what he was saying at that time. Then I went through it politically, and I was going, what is actually happening? I mean, the peer pressure. You're going to do this, Los Angeles, but in reality, everyone ignored the fact that Harley Pasternak was, and this is one of the people he was referring to. He was also referring to at that time Scooter Braun. Justin Bieber has now kind of said things about Scooter Braun. Who knows what's true and what's not? I mean, I've had friendly conversations with Scooter, so I don't have a horse in the race. But the point is he was trying to say that there is this psychological operation that sweeps in if you do not actually peddle certain talking points or certain perspectives, particularly in Hollywood. I didn't understand what he was saying at that time. Then I went through it politically, and I was going, what is actually happening? I mean, the peer pressure. You're going to do this or you're going to lose everything. We saw that even in Charlie Kirk's text messages. There is not a single person that bent over more for the pro-Israel cause than Charlie Kirk, but it wasn't enough because they were so angry, Dave, particularly Josh Hammer was angry, Dave, that you annihilated him in a debate on stage. And how did you annihilate him? I don't know, just by being a human being. I don't know, and Tucker Carlson gets out there, and Charlie was going through it, okay? And that shows you they do not care. Everything instantly gets white. And for me, the attack they always do is they kind of try to make it seem like you're going crazy. That's the wildest part to me, is reading back the messages, and they're like, oh, we're your friend. They always come at you as a friend. Like, I care about you. Like, are you okay, Dave? I saw you wrote that tweet about, that Palestinian child. You said it looks sad. Like, are you okay? Is your marriage okay right now, Dave? Like, are there some things going on at home, Dave? Like, I'm your friend. Like, you can always call me. This is their strategy behind the scenes.
Creating
and
a
it's also their strategy in
narrative,
front of the
for
scenes.
real.
I think Seth Dillon is a literal demon. I will never, I can't explain to you. There's something very dangerous, psychologically wrong with him. This is how they behave, and it's important for people to see that. I'm obviously at the time it wasn't fun to go through it, but I am ever resilient on topics when it comes to principles, and I would rather burn everything to the ground and make new friends when I realize that I am in a toxic relationship, whether that's an employment, whether it's a personal friendship. It has to go, and people now know that it can be done. You can survive it, and people will be with you, even if it's not immediately. They'll start to wake up and see that repeated pattern that you always talk about, where someone says something completely normal and then it's like a button gets pressed.
Yeah, and just all of that, as when I was saying back
I cannot stand do not try to manipulate me.
The energy that Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson were able to kind of take hold of was that they were the ones saying, you guys are afraid to debate. You guys need to rely on censorship. You have to rely on demonizing your opponent rather than just addressing their ideas. And now they just can never say that again, because we saw what happened as soon as their ideas got questioned, and then they all turned into the exact same thing. And that's just, the hypocrisy like that is very hard these days in this media environment, in this spiritual environment, whatever exactly it is. It's just very hard for people to keep their own lies from being exposed.
Right.
So I want to talk a bunch about Charlie and because you've been doing a lot of shows on this. And so it seems to me, and a lot of shows that, shows that have been some of the most highest rated shows, a part of the reason why have the biggest podcast right now. I was talking about this on the show a few weeks ago.
I.D. Stanley Shapiro is a hypocrite,
and I was kind
no.
of wrangling kids also while I was doing it. So I'm watching the show, and it's live, and there was over 300,000 viewers live. And then I paused it because I had to go do something with the kids, and then I came back, and when I came back, the show wasn't live anymore. but it was still like I had it paused where I was in the stream, and I looked down, and it was it was only 15 minutes after the show had been live, and it was over 1 million views already on just on YouTube on it. I was just like, yo, there's so many people watching this right now. It's really unbelievable. And there's been something very interesting about the way you've been covering this. Well, I mean, look, it's a little uncomfortable to say, but like part of what's interesting and part of what's compelling about it is that you're Candace Owens, you're this pit bull who's got a hold of something, and everybody knows you're not letting go until you shake out everything that there is in there. Then you're also like a woman who's in deep grief, very clearly, over losing like a very close friend. And so it's just like, it's very, real, and people can relate to it. It seems to me, and I kind of want to talk to you almost about like what you think the biggest things are that you've revealed so far, like where we are now if we try to put this all together. But it seems to me the things that the takeaway that I find the most interesting so far is that, and correct me if I'm getting any of the chronology of this wrong, but I think I got it pretty much right. So you basically come out in the wake of the biggest political assassination in modern American history, and a good friend of yours, and you go, look, here's the deal. Charlie was really at war with the Israel lobby and with all of the Zionist handlers around him. They were threatening him. They were pulling funds from him. He had basically gotten to the point where he was like, I don't support any of this anymore. And immediately that was met with accusations of she is out of her mind, she's lying. This is I believe Josh Hammer called it an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. There was all types of that. Of course, Benjamin Netanyahu is selectively reading lines from Charlie's letter. Now, by the way, he doesn't mention that the rest of the letter, at least the rest of the letter that we've seen produced, is like the whole theme of it is like, this Hasbro bullshit is not working at all. We need to deal with I'm getting killed out here is the whole letter. He omits that and just reads the part where it's like, I sure do love Israel so much, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, all of them are saying the idea that there was a Jewish donors were pulling money, or that he was in some more. Now, the thing that always at the very beginning made it very believable that you were saying this is that, well, number one, you're good friends with him, and number two, we all saw that Megyn Kelly interview. So, like, we all kind of know what's going on a little bit.
He was hosting you on stage. I mean, if you're like so committed to the pro-Israel cause, you stay away from Dave Smith, right? I mean, that's a pretty easy thing to not invite Dave Smith to do a debate on stage when you know he's going to win.
Well, that was, and I mentioned this also at the thing, there was something about me, because look, obviously, he had Tucker and he had Megyn Kelly there, who both essentially said Mossad was Epstein, and were very, Tucker certainly was very critical of the Israeli government, but Tucker and Megyn are Tucker and Megyn. So, like, you have to have them at a conservative conference. Who could tell you you're not going to have them? They're like legacy icons of the conservative movement. But there was no need to have me. Like, that was a choice. Like, that was just, he could have just not invited me. But anyway, so then this all gets exposed, or this, you get attacked for making up this nonsense. And now all of the receipts have been produced that this part I don't even think is in dispute by anyone at this point, that yes, millions of dollars had been pulled out of Turning Point USA over platforming Tucker Carlson, and maybe to some extent me or whatever. And then also the biggest one is this thread, this group chat, where he actually literally says in writing that I'm forced, I have no choice other than to abandon Israel. And then the other thing that is a real important detail here, which really, can't be overstated, is that Charlie's right-hand man there, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name, Andrew, is it? At Turning Point? Yes. So Andrew, who I met down at that event, who was always by Charlie's side,
I'm not going to ask y'all too many more times to get the lights up.
That he's the one who took the screenshot of it, and that he sent it to the authorities, which is like, look, it's just, I'm not saying that proves anything about who done it, but it is like the fact that the closest guy in the organization to Charlie found that information to be relevant enough that he's like, the authorities should know that he just said he was turning on Israel. Now, correct me if I'm getting any of the chronology of this wrong, or if there's some more stuff you want to add, but that at least is like...
Okay, so I don't think he turned on Israel. I think God exposed the truth about Israel. He didn't turn on Israel. Israel's lies turned on them. Their deceit, spent the block and came back. It's spinning the block now. It's not moving at the speed we want it to move at. Yeah, we wanted to speed race a baby and knock all of it down. We wanted to hit them like a fast bowling ball and make them pop all over the pin. That's what we want. But it's spinning the block. Yeah. And the reality of it is, because they turned on Charlie, have people who didn't know who Charlie was eyes on them. I mean, that's just the bottom line. We weren't paying Charlie Kirk no mind. I mean, because he catered to the college kids, Lord. And just even thinking about it, I ain't gonna even lie. It's like I had to make some phone calls just to make sure and be clear. Hey, because his target was college kids, the up and coming. They leave the parents' nest, go off to college. This is their first real kind of freedom to kind of do what they want to do, how they want to do it. Nobody regulating really, you know. So, you know, a lot of them sheltered, very sheltered on purpose. And just to think that this type of manipulation was planted. It kind of hit a little different. I am not going to even lie. I'm not going to lie. It hit a little different. It was intentional. Sabotage. Intentional destruction. So, yeah. So, I don't think that Charlie, I mean, if he did, I wouldn't care less. Bravo to him. But I think they turned on Charlie. They turned on the truth. They turned on the fact that his eyes were being opened, that his light bulb was really, I mean, because it could have just came across as, okay, we're just doing this. This is just, you know, we are Christians. I know you're Christian. I know. But we're doing this. This is what needs to be done. And then it became a reality. So we don't know how it was spent to him. I just know that what he was pushing and what he was saying as far as his spiritual relationship with God didn't match. And you don't play like that. You're not acting. This is what was being planted. So the mind manipulation, the MK Ultra was I don't know how they presented it to him and her, but it was definitely played out, planted in their heads, in their minds, for them to perform. And they was doing the devil's work and didn't know it. So no, I do not believe that Charlie turned on him. I think God cut the light on and said enough.
That at least justifies your entire investigation into this. That you're like, hey, you guys were saying to Charlie.
Are you worried that using your home address for business puts your privacy at risk? At iPostal One, we can help.
I need 40 likes, quick.
Found that information to be relevant enough that he's like, the authorities should know that he just said he was turning on Israel. Now, correct me if I'm getting any of the chronology of this wrong or if there's more stuff you want to add, but that at least is like, that at least justifies your entire investigation into this. That you're like, hey, you guys were saying this whole thing was crazy, and we're at least at the point where like, no, it's pretty much confirmed by all that that's exactly what was going on. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is My Patriot Supply.
Bibi Netanyahu interject
/problem and get prepared.
Strange thing that he was not a personal friend of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk obviously had an affinity for back, and amazed at how quickly Bibi Netanyahu interjected himself in this situation. He was not a personal friend of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk obviously had an affinity for Israel throughout his career. Everybody knew he was changing in the end. It was such a strange thing that they then tried to say that wasn't real. So that obviously immediately for me becomes a compelling motive, because there's no reason to lie. This is like what I said about the Bill Ackman summit. There's no reason to lie. You could easily say, which is 100% true, Seth Dillon pressed him. They did this whole meeting. Bibi Netanyahu calls, invites him to Israel. Charlie says no, offers to fund Turning Point to the next level, which is totally normal for a sitting prime minister of a country that's fighting a 97,000 front war. Charlie said no, okay? And if they had been forthcoming and everyone had just kind of told the truth, I would have just been okay, this is some crazy lefty that did this. There's just never a reason to lie. Even if I get into a fight with Charlie the day before he dies, I would be I have my biggest to Charlie, or F you. And this shows you life can be taken from you at any moment. I am just beside myself. They were obsessively lying, trying to bury this thing, and it made me go, something's just not right.
Her last words to him was what?
97,000 front war. Charlie said no, okay? And if they had been forthcoming and everyone had just kind of told the truth, I would have just been okay, this is some crazy lefty that did this. There's just never a reason to lie. Even if I get into a fight with Charlie the day before he dies, I would be my biggest regret is that my last words to Charlie were F you. And this shows you life can be taken from you at any moment. I am just beside myself. They were obsessively lying, trying to bury this thing, and it made me go, something's just not right here, okay? Then I learned, thanks to the Turning Point people, the younger people at the organization were just there's a lot of lies being told. Charlie was concerned about finances, particularly he didn't know where the money was coming from. That's a very strange thing. I saw evidence of that. I obviously then presented the Doge email. 7 days before he dies, says, I'm going to start, audit, a personal audit campaign inside a Doge committee inside to figure out things, where it was going, where it was coming from, and who it was going to. That's not a normal thing for somebody to be wondering about their company and then they're dead. So everything was a lie. And honestly, the one that struck me as the oddest was them lying about the Catholic thing. Okay, and I'm including Andrew Colvett in this. Because what's this got to do with anything, I'm thinking, right? We all know Catholic gang. We knew he was going to mass daily sometimes. We knew he had the St. Michael pendant. I knew that Erika had flown a priest right when he died. And they're getting up here and they're no, he just liked the architecture, and he would sometimes and sometimes he would go in there.
Just lying.
Because he just liked pretty walls. I'm what is this lie about, right? So I'm putting together a picture, and the obvious thing to me, if I am a detective,
she was a plant.
You're only lying because you're hiding something, right? And it seems to me they're trying to not upset the very people that were pressuring him. They want him to be this committed Christian Zionist. He never faltered on it. If you want that money to keep going, are these donors still pressuring you? Now, why is Bibi Netanyahu lying? I don't know. But what I do know is we aren't getting the truth about anything. Then you couple that with Turning Point is lying, covering. That could just be financial, trying to protect the finances after Charlie, who knows. But then you add the Fed messages that they didn't want to give us a time about. The person's writing they're in 1887. This just young gay 20-year-olds writing we're in 1887. It's a nonsense. They have no explanation for that. I know that makes no sense. The persons, I got contact with the family. They're telling me that the feds are even lying about why he turned himself in. They basically were told, we'll slam down your doors, or you can come in peacefully. What are you going to do? Hey, we got you no matter what. You have two options here. He turned himself in, the family friend. I mean, there isn't a single thing they have told us
That was the truth.
unless you believe in the fantasy of the Superman neck because Charlie ate healthy,
Right.
and a 30-06, which would have decapitated him, as every hunter knows, he stopped it. He saved lives and he stopped it, and this was just your regular Christian miracle. It's all nonsense, okay? We don't know what happened, but we certainly know that what they're telling us is bullshit, right?
Right.
And people we're just so tired of being sold slop. Another thing that struck me as very odd was they were pushing this kid, Breland Holland. You may have seen this, like a nice kid. He's like young
Yeah,
and
yeah. But it looks like he was made in an AI lab or something like that. Yeah.
like a nice kid. Trump mentions this kid in his speech at the memorial. Okay, Donald Trump mentions this kid who he doesn't know, and he's like, Charlie interviewed this kid who was only in 4th grade, blah blah blah. Hi, I was there for the interview. Trump wasn't. Why is Trump mentioning this? It was a random side podcast that we did when we did an event down in Alabama. Who put this in your speech? Okay, this had nothing to do with you, Trump. You didn't even know that I was there, right? Because somebody put this in your speech. That seems to me like you're just kind of trying to set the stage for this kid who's controlled by Israel narratives.
Tony, no, it's not. It's me. That is my phone is a little delayed. So, sir, you're wrong. Can you retract that? That is not them. That's my phone that has a slight delay. Can you retract your own so that I won't have to? It is mine. When I stop, talk, it throws it off. So you are incorrect. And I'm respectfully ask you to remove your own comment because what you just commented is not true. So can you retract it, please? And I'm not going to wait too long. Y'all say bye to Tony. Next time you come over, you respect my platform. Do not come over here with lies. Come back another day respectfully. When I ask you to remove a lie, remove it. I explain to you what it is. Every time I stop, I talk and make a comment because I have to react to what I'm watching. It delays it and it has to catch up. So stop lying. It is not AI.
To become the new Charlie Kirk. So it just smells, and I'm covering it meticulously, and there obviously is an emotional investment here. Charlie was an amazing person. He really was. He held the line, and when he gave an inch, like, okay, I won't have Candace, there's a reason he then said, and now you get Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson, and everybody else who's anti-Israel. That's how he was. He was very strategic.
Boy, they start talking about anti-Israel, and they come in, don't they? They pop out of nowhere.
Okay, that we did not go to war with Iran. You guys may think that's crazy. It's a fact.
It was a big, that was a big deal. And look, I remember it. I remember texting them and giving them a lot of credit for it at the time because it was like what happened was as
his is off too. So why is his speaking AI? It's not. You're just prejudiced. You don't like the fact that she has exposed the Zionists and is pro-Israel. Get your ass up out of here. The devil.
When Israel starts first bombing and it wasn't clear whether or not we were going to get in on it, it was like, again, like it was you, Tucker, like all these people, Steve Bannon, there were all these people who, I mean, like really, really influential, like high level. I remember talking about it at the time and being like, I've just never seen anything like this before. Like this would be like in 2004, like Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh all turning against George W. Bush's policy in the war. Like, what would that look like? You can't even like imagine it. Or Rachel Maddow and all of them turning against Obama or something. You never saw. But here you have this, and then Charlie, who was more. Look, obviously he was more he was in a slightly different game than the rest of us are in. Like, he wasn't just doing a show. He was doing a get out the vote youth organizational big tent Republican thing. So he was always the most just pro-Trump of the group. Like, not that all of you guys might have supported Trump, but
I have never
Charlie's
in my
identity.
life
And
seen
then
more people want to say something is not real because it's AI. But y'all sit up there and listen to a fake Trump run his mouth, knowing good and dang well everything he say out his mouth is a lie. It just blows my mind how the devil and the people who worship him, go along with lies and make up false narratives when people are telling the truth. All I know is liars hate to be exposed. Deceivers hate to be exposed. And they will try to turn it around and put it on you when they are about to be seen for who they really are. It's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah, we see clearly now. We see you when you come. That's why I call you out. I check your integrity. And you failed. Come back another day and pass next time, Tony Kaiser. I don't have to put you out before. Yeah.
even he came
I'm
out.
gonna stop
and was
giving
just
you
like,
chances.
No, dude, like, we
Y'all
are
get the
not-
lights
this
up.
is
This is
not
my
what
last
Trump
time
base
asking
wants.
y'all.
Like, this is not that.
I'm
that
gonna
is-
flip it over
Look,
to members only.
again, to some degree, it's hard to prove.
Do we understand one another? Get the lights up. Double tap the face of your screen. Just like hit the 3 dots at the top. Hit the thumbs up. This is my last time. Very last on this live. And I'm going to switch it over to members only.
But that made it that there was such a show. He was doing a get out the vote youth organizational big tent Republican thing. So he was always the most just pro-Trump of the group. Like, not that all of you guys might have supported Trump, but that was Charlie's identity. And then when even he came out and was just like, no, dude, like, we are not, this
What
is
is
not
this
what
thing?
the Trump
Hold
base
on.
wants. Like, this is not, that is a
from Australia because of her Semitic rhetoric when Australia is like maybe 1 or 2%. How is it that we got students getting deported from the United States because of speech? Obviously, a lot of people are going to say these are Semitic conspiracy theories and tropes. Well, how is it that this is happening 100 years later? How is it that someone like a Candace Owens gets banned from Australia because of her Semitic rhetoric when Australia is like maybe 1 or 2%? How is it that we got students getting deported from the United States because of speech that criticizes Israel? They can burn an American flag, no problem, but then they burn an Israeli flag, they're getting deported. The reason why we can talk about this now is because of what happened on October 7th. October 7th happened, people saw all these kids dying, they got red pilled on what's going on, they figured out the history. Anyone with a heart realizes this is a genocide and Israel's in the wrong. The youth are siding with Palestine. Israel doesn't hold the narrative anymore because mainstream media doesn't have the same level of tentacle power that it used to have, and they're panicking.
Okay, well, there we go.
You called it.
Oh, yeah. We got the tea, baby. Yeah. Are y'all gonna hear it? is
look.
the question.
Again, to some degree, it's hard to prove the counterfactual or what influence everything had, but that made it that there was such a political price for Donald Trump to have escalated the thing. Like,
And
if
he was saying this to his face at the White House, and Charlie was. As someone said to me, and this is a perfect way to put it, Charlie was a maestro, right? So he would play like, hey, Mr. President, here's why, and here's whatever, and then he'd go and he'd call me, and he'd call like Matt Gaetz and Tucker. He'd be like, hammer him, showing you like, the market that they don't like this, whatever. And he won. Like, in a room full of people who wanted him to go to war with Iran, Charlie Kirk made the difference. And I don't take Bibi Netanyahu as someone who would take that lightly, right? And everything he has done since Charlie has passed, trying to assert his legacy as he never blinked on Israel, it makes me uncomfortable, okay? Now, that's a feeling, and I've expressed that feeling, but I've also been meticulous about delivering a timeline of the facts, and it is very clear that some funny business started happening after the notorious event where you and Tucker spoke at, and they were enraged, and the donors were enraged. They took millions of dollars, and he said after that, he said no to Bibi Netanyahu. He said, no, I don't want your money. I don't want to take Turning Point to the next level. I've now recently, which I haven't presented yet, am learning how much money each person at Turning Point lost when Charlie said, oh, Bibi Netanyahu, because they were going to get a percentage of that. And that's interesting. Anybody investigating a crime knows, look at financial motives, right? Common sense, look at financial motives. And they're emotionally manipulating us like it's disrespectful to his legacy to pursue truth.
Hey,
I knew
Mrs. Pretty
Charlie.
Lady.
I'm not listening to them. You do one of two things when you go through something like that. I suffered a real trauma. I had to take 2 weeks off because I couldn't even process what was happening and the way they were trying to get us to just forget about it. Dave, move on. His legacy is he loves Israel, it's over, and here's what you can do if you love Charlie, donate. Okay? No. I was behind Turning Point because Charlie was there. He's not there. I need to know what and who is running this organization now behind the scenes. And I'm not going to accept that, okay, well, Erika, Kirk, yeah, on paper, she's a chairman and she's a CEO, but you don't learn how to be a chairman and a CEO overnight because your husband died, right? That's just a fact. I couldn't be a chairman and a CEO. And I've been in business. My husband does all that because it's not my natural interest. You have to actually like the mundane. You got to read the contracts and you got to understand the LLC structures, the contractors that you're bringing in for a company that's worth $100 million, Dave. No, okay? There's some snakes in the garden, and I'm here to cut the grass and figure out where they are.
All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show.
Cut the grass. It's time to mow that grass down. I used to say that in the Mo 3 sector. It's a lot of snakes. A lot of snakes. It's time to mow the grass.
Charlie was, and that's natural. That's the way things work with really talented people. They make it look kind of easy. And I think also people don't understand how talented Charlie was, and that's natural. That's the way things work with really talented people. They make it look kind of easy, and then everybody else kind of doesn't really. But it's just to be people don't understand how good you have to be to go just do what he would do and hold court with all of these students and debate 1,000 different people and then go you got to be really good to do that. But then also people in a weird way go, Charlie did what all of us do, and then he ran this gigantic organization, which really moved the needle in a very powerful way. In fact, might be the reason why Donald Trump is president. If you go look at the polling data from 2024, the youth movement was a huge difference for Donald Trump. I'd have to double look at that, might have been the margin of victory. It was a big deal. And by the way, all those youth are now going back to the Democrats. At least that's what it looks like as of this week, which is an interesting thing.
Charlie did it for
the vote, so there's that.
There's a real interesting dynamic there that I that I do want to talk to you about a bit, where it seems like it's almost and in a way, I think this was something that was one of Charlie's big concerns. Okay, we'll get to this in a second, but it was I know. So essentially, right, everybody started kind of releasing messages, and Netanyahu is selectively reading from the letter. Bill Ackman's releasing text messages. You end up releasing some group chats, and you had that one show where you called on. You were like, "Hey, Dave, Tucker, whatever you guys got." And I was like, "Okay." So I looked through my text message with Charlie. I didn't know we became friends over this last year, but I didn't know him the way you knew him. We weren't close like that. But I was I wonder if and I didn't really have much, but I had that one text message that he did send me right after I debated Douglas Murray, where he was this Murray guy was really full of shit. And he goes, I actually agree with almost all of what you were saying there. And I did release that because I do think look, even if, let's just say there is a thorough investigation, it gets done. There's cameras in the courtroom. We all get to see the evidence, please. And we really are at the end of this. 8 months from now, me and you are talking and we're it was Tyler Robinson, and it was, this is just, the evidence does look like he was a lone left-wing nut. Well, okay, fine. It's still, the fact is that when somebody young, who's so beloved by millions of people, gets killed in such a public, gruesome way, such a high-profile political assassination that people trying to hijack his legacy, like, that matters. And I'm sorry, like, if you're going to tell me that Charlie Kirk, there is no daylight between him and Ben Shapiro, or him and Josh Hammer, or him and Benjamin Netanyahu, let me tell you what none of those guys do. Is text me after my debate with Douglas Murray and go, you know, I really agreed with most of what you said there. They don't say that. You're an evil enemy to them at that point. And that wasn't Charlie's attitude. Charlie's attitude was like, I get what you're saying, man. Let's talk about this more. Like, we should hammer this out. And so, at the very least, even if it's not something to do with the actual, like, crime, this is all still very relevant to get to the bottom of. Like, what was going on here? And then, of
And
course...
by the way, you're speaking to his character, and that's what I wanted people to understand. For the people that were like, oh, Charlie was just doing whatever for Israel. Charlie was pro-Israel like I was pro-Israel because he actually believed it at that time. He was an authentic human being. It was not this like hardcore political idiot. He wasn't in a cult. And he was transformative. If he thought something and he was wrong, he would change his mind and he would tell you how he got there. And they knew that about him. They knew that he was not a cult member and that money was not going to be something that was going to make him go, okay, well, I'm just going to say the thing and look like a fool. What Charlie wanted more than anything else was to win, okay? In order to win, you have to be right. In order to win, you have to be right long term. And so Charlie would do the due diligence, he would study things, he would have the conversations, and he was landing up, he was just winding up on the other side of this thing, like I did, where it's like, hey, and that's what I said to him, I was like, when you start looking into this, you're feeling the pressure, you're gonna see something's very wrong. Like, we did not have this right, Charlie. We did not have this right. And because he had that humility to admit that he was wrong,
That right there is what I appreciate the most. That is where the respect for Charlie and Candace, as far as I am concerned, comes in. Because they was able to admit, whoa, something ain't right here. Whoa, they don't bait and switch. Maybe we didn't get this right. This is really, really wrong. We got to back up. We got to get out of this. This is not right. How did we get here? I can appreciate that. That is commendable. That is integrity. Acknowledging, yeah, I know everything we said. Yeah. Yeah, but we was wrong. And now we gotta go. And that's what's happening. And that's why they don't want you to listen to anything that they are saying, because they are taking ownership of an era. And as much verbiage, mouth, campaigning as they did for the wrong, they feel the need, or they felt, and she feels the need to do as much or more for the truth. And that's just it. So when people say it's spiritual warfare, right and wrong, it's not biblical. It's not everybody's supposed to back Israel. No, it's definitely spiritual warfare between good and evil, right and wrong. Salvation or damnation. The truth and the lie. That's it. Because what they was spinning was a lie. And how they were getting people to back them was a lie. It was deception. It was it's wolves in sheep clothing. Luring to slaughter. Luring to have you turn on your Christianity. That's why the Bible says, I'm telling you, that's what I kept hearing when all this first came out, and it was very confusing. I would hear, my sheep know my voice. Follow my voice. And what he was saying wasn't right. No, I'm not. No, I can't go along with that. This is a trap, and they are baiting. Don't take the bait. It's a lie. So I commend her. I actually commend Charlie at the point that he had a turning point to back up and back out. And he lost his life for truth. Don't spin now. Don't get mad at me. Start spinning now. It's that we don't want you to
And because he had that humility to admit that he was wrong, he no longer served their purpose, right?
Right
That's
there.
what I realized. They will throw you out. And like, when you start looking into this, you're feeling the pressure, you're going to see something's very wrong. Like, we did not have this right, Charlie. We did not have this right. And because he had that humility to admit that he was wrong, he no longer served their purpose, right? That's what I realized. They will throw you out and coordinate behind the scenes, have all their sycophants go after you, take quotes out of context, start with the articles. He's flirting with anti-Semitism. He put on a hot dress and he saw anti-Semitism, whatever. Like that's kind of where they start, and that's like the threat of the articles that are about to drop. And Charlie said no, and so that is one of the things that makes me just so happy. And when I just pray. I just want him to know, you died with your soul intact, and something that brought me such peace was a donor at Turning Point USA who was very close with Charlie said to me in the immediate aftermath, a soul that is.
Are you researching dental implants?
There's a lot of dental offices that'll talk about
with your soul intact, and something that brought me such peace was a donor with your soul intact, and something. And Charlie said no. And so that is one of the things that makes me just so happy. And when I just pray, I just want him to know, you died with your soul intact. And something that brought me such peace was a donor at Turning Point USA who's very close with Charlie said to me in the immediate aftermath, a soul that is in struggle will free itself, right? One way or the other, it will free itself. And I think for Charlie, his soul was starting to struggle. And to know that his last things that he said to them was no, F you, keep your money. He died a free man. And I think that that's really important for people to
keep
know.
your money. When you can turn down money, baby.
I just can't imagine, say to Josh Hammer, who supposedly was a close friend of Charlie Kirk's, and according to him was which is, I think, very weird to be saying right after he died. Even if this was true, I would find this very bizarre to be saying. If you, if I just, the first podcast, just knowing Charlie the way I knew him, if I, the first podcast...
I'm so sorry Dave Smith died. The last thing Dave Smith said to me, we had this conversation, he was like, Candace, your feminism book was amazing, and I want to go to makehim-a-sandwich.com and buy your feminism book. It was the last loving conversation we had. Was really close to Dave.
By the way, and I like your book on feminism, but if I died and then you did a show about it afterward, I'd find it kind of weird if that was
not one show. It was his first tweet after Charlie died. It was his first tweet. He did multiple shows about it.
Oh my God! And he almost, even the way he says it, I pointed this out on the show at one point, that every single interview he always says the horrific murder of my friend Charlie. It's just always in those words. It's always the horrific murder of my friend. It's why are you talking to me like you focus groups? That I don't want the global language dictionary here. Be a human being. Talk about what, and I would just imagine whatever it is. Me and you, we agree on all types of issues. And let's say right before God forbid something happened to you. The night before, you were texting with me, and you were like, I don't know, Dave. I mean, I know you've been saying we should end the Fed and have a free market and money, but I'm really thinking we need a central bank and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, shoot, Candace is diverting from the thing that we agree on or whatever. And then, God forbid you got killed, and they'd be like, oh, Candace was turning on the idea of Ron Pauli and, free market economics. I'd be like, well, she was exploring other ideas. It was a time when there was a lot of but to just lie, I would find that to be such a betrayal of my. I'd be like, yeah, it was a shame. I would have convinced her though. We were going to argue about it, and I bet she would have come back to agreeing with me after. Just say something like that. Why, why, there's just something very profoundly wrong about lying
it's not just
about
profoundly
your friend.
wrong. It is demonic. That's what I'm saying. Most of us have something spiritually that would stop us from doing it. So we either don't want to talk about it at all because we're embarrassed, right? I don't even want to talk about the fact that we were fighting, which is fine. But to race out of the gate before anybody even cares about what your last conversation was, and to lie about his state of mind, to lie about, and knowing he was feeling so much pressure too. He was hurting over this. You know what I mean? And you just lie. There is something spiritually wrong with Josh Hammer. So I don't even accept that it's disgusting, it's wrong. It's no, this is actually demonic. Okay? A regular human being can't do that. There's certain things you just go, oh, I'm sorry, that makes me really uncomfortable to do something like that. And you could see that. That's why Megyn Kelly, I didn't expect her to be, such a stalwart on this thing. And she was like, no, he was definitely going through something towards the end because he died. And that normal spiritual thing came on where Megyn was like, hey, these lies are actually I'm not okay with it, and I want to make sure the truth gets out there. And so it did present an opportunity for people to see that we're not being dramatic when we say that these people are evil. That isn't evil to do that to your quote-unquote friend, to lie about him because you want to protect your identity as a pro-Israel psychopath, which is kind of what he is. He's a pro-Israel psychopath. There's nothing other way to say it.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, I should go out of my way, as you said, just to give some credit to Megyn Kelly, because she has been really solid on this. And obviously, there's I've always liked Megyn, and I've done her show a few times, and I've always liked her. There's always a lot of issues I disagree with her about, I'm sure, but just having the basic principle of being no, I'm not going along with this mob and saying I'm supposed to now throw my friends under the bus and pretend this whole thing where we're supposed to pretend the people who were everybody loved 5 minutes ago are now just possessed by evil almost. I thought it was so funny listening to Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham at this Genocide Fest 2025, where they're all if you were to hear them talk about it.
Can y'all hit refresh so it can go to members only and to kick you out since you don't want to hit the like button,
Nothing else
please?
was going on in the news with Israel, Candace. It's just
I've just put it on members only. So I need for y'all to hit refresh on your end so it will remove you from the live since you don't want to hit the like button. Can y'all hit refresh for me, please? So it will, there you go. Thank you.
I guess Qatar must have sent a lot of money around, and then everybody was just all that's what happened is that all these people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and all the people who have been household names now for many, many years, who is very successful at the top of the conservative, most popular commentators, they all just sold out their soul for Qatari money and and their whole audience is possessed by it too, and nothing, and then they just leave out that part where you guys committed a genocide in 4K and forced us to pay for it. You don't think that had a little bit to do with this? You don't think that had something to do with where we're at today? And this so one of the things, this is what I was getting at before, because Charlie was a movement guy. Charlie was a big tent guy. Charlie was a guy who wanted to find a way for us to not lose to the crazy progressive leftists. And you've heard this brought up a lot by Mark Levin and by Ben Shapiro and people like that over this last week. We just had an election. The Democrats had a good night. You go, look, there's this infighting on the right. And so if we keep doing this, we're going to end up losing and AOC is going to be president or something like that. Now, of course, they just take it as a given that, I guess we're just supposed to shut up and they get their way. Why is that the way it works? But at a certain point, I actually think in a sense, they're right about that one argument. And Charlie was right to, be concerned about this. But here's the thing, right? and you being number one, you and Tucker are the biggest two. You're the biggest two conservative people in the news. And like, then as Charlie noted, as Megyn Kelly's noted, nobody under 30 supports Israel anymore. Barely anyone under 40 supports Israel anymore. It is essentially, my point is that you're right. If we fracture up this coalition, we'll end up losing to the Democrats. But the only way to overcome that and win is to obviously go with the wind. It's like saying in 2016, hey, there's a big divide between Donald Trump and the entire GOP establishment on immigration. They want open borders, and he wants to build a wall. And it's like, yes, but you've got him and 100% of the base against you. So the only option here is to go with his immigration policy, and then you could win the election. And I do think this all comes down to the war party and to Israel, which are kind of, one and the same in this country. And it's like, J.D. Vance, you can embrace that and lose, or you can come over here with the people and have a real shot of winning. What do you want to do?
And look, we have the Republican Party, we have a Democrat Party, and then we have the Knesset Party, and they've infiltrated both of the parties actually. And what's happening right now is left and right people are saying no to that.
They've infiltrated both the parties. I believe that.
The same in this country, and it's like, J.D. Vance, you can embrace that and lose, or you can come over here with the people and have a real shot of winning. What do you want to do?
And look, we have the Republican Party, we have a Democrat Party, and then we have the Knesset Party, and they've infiltrated both of the parties actually. And what's happening right now is left and right people are saying no to that. The reasons might be different, but it's a populist movement one way or the other.
Right.
And it's hilarious to me that they think after me watching Charlie Kirk get assassinated, them spitting in our face and telling us that it's raining about everything that happened here, the viciousness that they themselves directed toward me in the aftermath. I mean, people are like, they tried to say that I didn't even know Charlie. I mean, they were so intent on making sure that not one drop of Candace being anti-Israel was a part of his legacy, that they just lied. They lied in a way that for the grief that I was going through, I'm not a crier. I mean, it was a lot. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. It was a lot for me to go through. And I look back and I'm like, wow, the nastiness of them doing this. And then a couple of weeks later, being like, and now we demand you tell your audience to go vote for who we want them to vote for.
Yeah.
F you. F you. I am not doing anything. Okay, here's the way it works, and here's how common sense is, okay? You tell me I can do this job. I can build your house. I can do this. I hire you, okay? I get behind it. I say, okay, I hire you. Go do that job. You then don't do it. You look at me and you say, Epstein who? Okay? You're at the top of the FBI and you say, oh, these are the real messages. You're blocking people, as Kash Patel is, from looking into Tulsi's team and Joe Kent. You saw this playing out in the news. They won't even let them look into whether or not foreign people could have been involved in this. And then you're like, and now go get out more people to vote so that we stay in power. No, buddy, okay? In your famous words, you're fired, as far as I'm concerned, okay? And so I don't know what's around the corner, but I do know that my platform is not yours, okay? My platform belongs to the truth, left and right, okay? And so it was just incredible to me. They were like, and not even that, they were like, get out people and tell them to vote against Mamdani and to get behind interim. Okay, if you want to do that, that's your thing. But I'm telling you, I'm not doing anything because for me, political life stopped when Charlie Kirk was murdered and you wanted me to move on. I'm not moving on from it.
Yeah.
By the way, it wasn't because of Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson sitting down that Maga
Not
got
moving
splintered.
on.
It got splintered
Absolutely
when you said
not.
Epstein who? That's it. Literally for me,
no
on my
question.
show, when I said, okay, what is this? Did the Loch Ness swamp monster come up and swallow the MAGA party? Actually, who is the Loch Ness monster? I think it's Israel. Okay, I think it's Israel,
That's
actually.
a good point.
And if Trump suddenly joined the Never Trump party, which he did, right? Trump joined the Never Trump movement. That's what's happening right now. And now they're trying to tell us to join it.
He joined the what?
I've always been against the Never Trumpers, and I'm going to
Never.
splintered. It got splintered when you said Epstein who? That's it. Literally for me,
no
on my
question.
show, when I said, okay, what is this? Did the Loch Ness swamp monster come up and swallow the MAGA party? Actually, who is the Loch Ness monster? I think it's Israel. Okay, I think it's Israel,
That's
actually.
a good point.
And if Trump suddenly joined the Never Trump party, which he did, right? Trump joined the Never Trump movement. That's what's happening right now. And now they're trying to tell us to join it. I'm good. I've always been against the Never Trumpers, and I'm going to stay that way even if Trump has joined them.
Yeah, well, that's such an important point, and so I just real quick before I get to that, I just do want to say, and I made this point last night. I was on my buddy Clint Russell's podcast, Liberty Lockdown. Clint Russell, by the way, criminally underrated. He's great. So it was me, him, and Ian Carroll, and we did.
Yeah, it was trending. You guys were trending.
Yeah, well, it was a great show. I think I bowled over everyone. I talked too much on the show. I apologized for it afterward, and I was like, I bet I'm going to get shit in the comments for this, and I did today. So sorry about that, guys. It was late. I'd had a couple whiskeys. I was ranting a bit. But it was a great show, and you should go subscribe to Clint Russell's channel if you get a chance. But I said this to them.
Now, I hope the 31 people that are here
that show, and I
have
wanted to just
hit the
address
like
it
button.
while you're on my show. That look, I don't know everything about everyone.
30
but
now.
one thing I do know is over this last year, and me and you have become friends over the last couple of years. Me and Charlie became friends over this last year.
I see
But
you.
hanging out with both of you, and I remember talking to you because we don't talk about all this stuff. And I remember talking to you about Charlie years ago when we were hanging out, and you were just had nothing. You were like, Charlie's the greatest guy. Just had nothing but like, I love him.
Thank
He's
you.
the greatest guy ever. And I talked to Charlie about you briefly when we were down at the student action summit, whatever the big event where me and Tucker and Megan were, and literally just all he had to say was how much he adored and loved you. Like, so the idea of people going like, there was this distance that had been growing between, like, okay, actually, I know both of them. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's just a fact. And I genuinely challenge anybody in Charlie's inner circle, tell me the wrong. I swear, even Josh Hammer wouldn't have the goddamn balls. Maybe he would, but he's lying. So that's one thing. But then on this other thing,
Thank you,
it's
Janet.
very interesting, and that you're absolutely right that it really was the Epstein thing. I said this at the time too, that people do not understand how profound what he's done here is to, and it may not even show up in a poll. His numbers did go down after that, but I'm not sure the polls can, because a lot of people who support Donald Trump, they supported him, they voted for him. If you ask them, they probably still say, hey, do you support Donald Trump? Yeah, I'm a Trump guy, I'm not a Democrat or something. But the energy and the loyalty and the enthusiasm.
I don't know why it's doing that.
Were just tremendously degraded by him. It's the whole political raison d'etre of Donald Trump was to drain the swamp. And this is the swampiest.
And they the swamp.
File ring connected to government and foreign intelligence.
Absolutely.
And I will say,
he's always the opposite.
At that event.
Hold on. Whatever he is saying and he's trying to imply about others, like, that whatever he is saying and implying about them is really him. So draining the swamp was draining him, his partners, his homie, his political party, the Zionists, the people who sacrifice kids, traffic kids. That's the swamp. I mean, what do you think that is? I mean, what? And the ocean, what? That's the swamp. It's nasty, funky, dirty water. The water in the swamp look like the shit in your diaper. So yeah, it's draining you and your kind. Yeah, that's what that swamp is, and it's time. Yeah, it's time to what they used to do over the black people's success. They would create a lake over the land. Yeah, it's time for God's people to let the water flow over y'all. Drown all that crap out. That's what needs to happen. That's what's happening. Yeah, the swamp. How dare you? How dare you?
Which it was a thing that, in a way, I think saved me, because Josh Hammer, which was somewhat crafty of him, because it's the best he's going to do, debating me. But so what he did for the whole opening of his statement was, like, I'm a me. So I get up there and I'm like, the neoconservatives were a marriage of the Israeli lobby and the military-industrial complex, and their clean break strategy is what we embarked on after 9/11. And this is the war in Iran. It's the culmination of the 7 countries in 5 years and all this shit. And then his whole opening statement is just every nasty thing I've ever said about Donald Trump. And just look, hey, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point audience, we love Trump. How about this guy? He don't love Trump. And which is a powerful way to win over an argument. I mean, it's a lame and dishonorable way to do it, but it is how politics works, you know? You get these people like, well, what do you want to be? You want to be a leftist Kamala Harris supporter? You go, oh, no, we're not that. Okay, we'll be the other thing. And then I just went, yeah, I'm talking about the guy who just covered up the Epstein story. Sorry, I'm going to criticize that guy. And the whole crowd was back with me because there was something about that moment. I had this experience recently where I did Steven Crowder's podcast. And that's all, we had this debate. All he tried to argue with was, you called for impeaching Donald Trump. You said Donald Trump's a war criminal. And then someone showed me the other day, go look through the YouTube comments. Everybody's like, everyone's like, no, like, it's kind of like, look, the Trump loyalty thing is played out. They are public servants. They work for us. I'm loyal to God. Yeah, I'm loyal to God. I'm loyal to my wife. I'm loyal to my friends. I'm not loyal to an administration. No. And to your point, it's like, this is not, and J.D. Vance or whoever it is not going to have that type of loyalty from a lot of us either. Like, you got to deliver on what we want. Like, and what we want is not bombing Iran and threatening to overthrow Venezuela.
We didn't want war, and we were totally fine. Like, the pro-Israel, he's always been pro-Israel, but it wasn't a relevant topic in the way that it is today. Like, are you going to stand up when Bibi Netanyahu says that he immediately wants your bombers to go take out, and, like, you just go do it, and you were going to do more? If Charlie Kirk didn't stop it, you were actually going to do more? That seems pretty corrupt to us. Like, the way that Bibi Netanyahu is just on camera being like, we're gonna take over. I need this deal to go through with TikTok. And you're not saying anything. You were supposed to be the free speech enthusiast, and you're going after college kids. You got Pam Bondi, who's like blanking us on Jeffrey Epstein, but responding to like a kid that gets shoved by a girl on a college campus. He's wearing an IDF. So he's basically like wearing an IDF shirt, asking for it, and a girl gives him a little shove, and it requires Randy Fine and Pam Bondi to respond within minutes. You can't figure out the Epstein thing, but we've got like literally an Amber Alert. The feds are like able to answer. I'm sorry, this is a joke. This is not what I voted for, and you're not going to struggle session me into they're like using the ghost of Charlie Kirk. This is what Charlie would want. This is what Charlie would want. It's like, was I born yesterday? I don't know, but all I know is that I don't care what happens. You're going to have to work for our vote. When we elect you, we elect you for a certain job. You don't deliver on that job. Joke's on you. And I think right now the Trump family is feeling that. You know, you see that they are, I think, probably now in retrospect realizing how significant Charlie Kirk was. He was
You
that, right?
will most definitely
with him.
have to deliver on that part. And I agree, Charlie Kirk was important to the cause. He's gone, and
the way that it is today. Like, are you going to stand up when Bibi Netanyahu says that he immediately wants your bombers to go take out, and like you just go do it?
Our public servants. They work for us. I'm loyal to God. Yeah, I'm loyal to God. I'm loyal to my wife. I'm loyal to my friends. I'm not loyal to an administration. And to your point, it's like, this is not, and J.D. Vance or whoever it is not going to have that type of loyalty from a lot of us either. Like,
we hired them
what we want.
to mistreat us.
Bombing Iran and threatening to overthrow Venezuela.
We didn't want war. And we were totally fine. Like, the pro-Israel, he's always been pro-Israel, but it wasn't a relevant topic in the way that it is today. Like, are you going to stand up when Bibi Netanyahu says that he immediately wants your bombers to go take out, and like you just go do it, and you were going to do more? If Charlie Kirk didn't stop it, you were actually going to do more? That seems pretty corrupt.
He was going to do more. See, we don't know what Charlie Kirk stopped. He was going to do more. Did y'all catch that? He was going to do more until Charlie Kirk stopped it. Let's go.
The way that it is today. Like, are you going to stand up when Bibi Netanyahu says that he immediately wants your bombers to go take out, and like you just go do it, and you were going to do more? If Charlie Kirk didn't stop it, you were actually going to do more? That seems pretty corrupt to us. Like, the way that camera being like, we're gonna take over. I need this deal to go through with TikTok. And you're not saying anything. You were supposed to be the free speech enthusiast, and you're going after
Wow.
college kids. You got Pam Bondi, who's like blanking us on Jeffrey Epstein, but responding to like a kid that gets shoved by a girl like on a college campus. He's wearing an IDF, so he's basically like wearing an IDF shirt, asking for it, and a girl gives him a little shove, and it requires Randy Fine and Pam Bondi to respond within minutes. You can't figure out the Epstein thing, but we've got like literally an Amber Alert. The feds are like able to answer quick. Like, I'm sorry, this is a joke. This is not what I voted for, and you're not going to struggle session me into they're like using the ghost.
He
of
was
Charlie
going to
Kirk.
do
This
more.
is what Charlie would want. This is what Charlie would want. It's like, was I born yesterday? I don't know, but all I know is that I don't care what happens. You're going to have to work for our vote. When we elect you, we're electing you for a certain job. You don't deliver on that job, joke's on you. And I think right now the Trump family is feeling that. You know, you see that they are, I think, probably now in retrospect realizing how significant Charlie Kirk was, because he was damning that, right? Because everyone, even if you disagreed with him, people would play his clips. There was a level of respect that people had for Charlie Kirk because they sensed his authenticity. He was authentic, and you would sense that he would get stressed when he was being pressed not to be authentic, and that's now removed. And all we have are these puppets. And I'm including Trump amongst this. He has let his base down, and stop blaming Nick Fuentes, okay? I'm not a Nick Fuentes fan. Why can't Nick Fuentes have a platform? Why can't he have a conversation? Why can't he talk to Dave Smith and Tucker? The free market works like this, by the way, okay? If his ideas suck, then Nick Fuentes will be beat in the free markets. I don't need Nick Fuentes censored. I need you to actually deliver on your promises so that Nick Fuentes he wouldn't have a platform unless you guys were lying about something, right? Like, you're lying about something where people feel like they're not getting the truth from this person, and they're going and they're listening to more of Nick Fuentes. They sense that you're a liar. And so stop talking to me about this is Nick Fuentes' the grapers, you know, the anonymous frogs on the internet. This is their fault. No, this is your fault for not delivering on your promises. And one of those big promises was to protect speech, okay? And we see what you're doing, redefining anti-Semitism on college campuses. Get out of my face.
All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, a brand new sponsor we're very happy to have on board, which is Rouget. Have you ever found yourself in that awkward situation of waiting to pick up a prescription at the pharmacy counter for an issue you would rather not announce to the whole world? An old lady standing behind you, and you wish the pharmacist's voice was a few degrees lower as she asks you personal questions about your health? Well, there's a better way, in fact, a next-gen solution, and unlike other popular brands, it's made right here in America. Meet Rouget Ready, the first ever ED treatment to prime the brain.
Okay, I'm gonna have a little bonus for the members. I'm gonna go. Let's hear this, and then I got some else to play.
Saying was that, look, he goes, even if you want to take the most generous interpretation of Adolf Hitler, if you want to find a way to try to be on his side, he's responsible for the people who died under his custody. And the point he was ultimately making was like, look,
Here's how to get high when you're not 22 anymore. Let's be real. The days of sketchy dealers and mystery.
Israel, if you launch a war in Gaza and you don't have a plan for how to protect the civilians there, then you're responsible for their death. Like, that, it doesn't matter in a sense whether you shot him in the head, or in the same sense where, like, if you kidnap someone and you lock them in your basement and just don't feed them and then they die, you murdered that person. It doesn't. You didn't just kidnap them now. Now you kidnapped and murdered them because you're responsible for that. It doesn't matter if you locked them down there and shot them in the head or just let them starve to death. You still put them in the situation where... So that was his point. And likewise, to Donald Trump, it's like, whether you even know about any of this or not, you're still doing
responsible.
It. You've allowed your administration to be taken over by these guys. Now, look, I mean, I don't even think, to use an example about me, I don't think that Donald Trump watched my debate with Douglas Murray and then decided to promote Douglas Murray's book the next day. But somebody who's got access to Donald Trump's Twitter or whatever decided to, the next day, promote this book after it was like this. And, okay, whatever. Like, I didn't care. I kind of took that as a feather in my cap. Like, yeah, you got to call in the big dogs to try to get us out of this. But at the end of all of this, whatever it is, it's like the Trump administration here has obviously been much more captured by Netanyahu and Levin
It's
by Candace
occupied.
Owens.
Yes,
Then-
it's
but then by
occupied. Everybody can see this is an occupied administration. And I love how they're I think right now I'm trending on X over this. Candace Owens says she regrets her vote. You're not going to shame me for saying everything you're doing is unacceptable. Try a mom on the Epstein stuff, okay? Try a mother. If you think I care more about loyalty to the MAGA cause than I care about pedophiles in positions of power getting away with it, you are out of your mind. You must have not listened to a single second of the Candace Owens podcast. You must have never listened to a thing I've ever said if you think that I am that blind and dumb and loyal to any person, left or right, that I'm gonna go, oh, okay, we gotta let pedophilia go. Okay, we gotta just move on. It's a hoax. You know, I know he actually went to prison for it, okay? But it's a hoax, and let's move on. It's a Democrat hoax. I mean, it's so insulting, and you are correct.
Very
that you know that some of these things
insulting.
are coming from
Very
people around him, like,
insulting
immediately tweeting out.
to justify it in any
Went to
way.
prison for it, okay? But it's a hoax, and let's move on. It's a Democrat hoax. I mean, it's so insulting, and you are correct that you know that some of these things are coming from people around him, like immediately tweeting out. It was so disrespectful when Charlie died, a photo of Charlie AI. Do I think Donald Trump hopped on AI and made this photo of Charlie and him holding the Israeli-American flag combo? No. But I'm sorry, if you're not capable enough to control the people around you, then you shouldn't be in a position of power, okay? I don't get to, if something goes out on my account, right, and people go, oh, did this go on your account? And I don't get to go, oh, well, you know what, my producer had access to that. It's like, okay, but that's your account, so you take the blame, okay? The captain goes down with the ship, and we don't even know, who's in control, but we know it's not Trump. So this is effectively like the Biden administration, but totally actually worse because Trump has his wits about him, right? So with Biden, at least we knew, right, that he had dementia before they admitted it. At least we knew he wasn't in control the whole time. It's almost worse because Trump doesn't have dementia, because Trump is actually sharp and he is aware and he is still occupied.
I think he
Somebody else is
do
calling the shots.
have parasites in the head.
The fact that you know, these guys,
I think he
all
do.
of them, like I've had this experience, right? Like I said, Josh Hammer, that's how he tried to debate me. That's how Steven Crowder tried to debate me. This guy's not pro-Trump. We're the pro-Trump side. Ben Shapiro did like several segments on me over the years, and the running joke was that he would never say my name. He would do segments, not of just like me on your show or me on Rogan's show, or like on my show. Like he would do segments of my show and still go, this comedian who evidently says he's a libertarian, like he would never say Dave Smith. It's a very complicated name, but he would never say it. But then the first time he ever said my name was when I called for Trump to be impeached after he launched the war in Iran. And then he goes, here's Dave Smith calling to it. And like, all I'm saying is like, you look at these Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and
I'm
all
trying
of
to get
them,
to it. Come on.
they were all the never Trumpers. Like, how stupid does everybody have to be? What, do you not remember the National Review piece, Never Trump, in 2016?
They weren't just never Trumpers, they stayed never Trumpers. They were pro-DeSantis.
Yes. And
then DeSantis lost, so they haven't won. The person that they have wanted to put in office, they have not had a winning philosophy.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're like trying to convince us that they're MAGA. I actually don't understand it.
No,
It's quite confusing.
Half of them pushed the Russiagate hoax. These were never Trumpers, and they were never Trumpers for a reason. Like, people just be, like, smart enough to see this for 1 second, right? Because it's funny when they come at me. Because, look, I'm not like, I voted for Trump this last time. I sat out the first two. I've always been like, but the thing is, because I'm to the MAGA of him. I'm to the non-intervention of him. Like when Donald Trump came out and said, we're not going to fight these wars, Iraq, you lied us into Iraq, blah, 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 but we'll still bomb them and we'll take the oil and we'll do this. I went, nope, too much. That's still too much intervention for me. Now, they rejected him because he was saying we shouldn't be so interventionist. I was over here like, you should be even more non-interventionist than that. Like, I want you to be Ron Paul. And so for them to sit here and say, it's like, yeah, dude, you guys all fought him over him signaling more in our direction of foreign policy, which is that we don't want to fight all these stupid wars. And it's like, yeah, they're trying to use this energy. It's like, so what do you guys want to do? You want to run on Mark Levin's platform? You want to run on Jeb Bush's platform? That's 1% in the polls, man. It's like, so they have to almost rely on running like us, but then, like trying to, I don't know, demonize all of us or something.
It's infiltration. They have to like pretend, and then infiltrate, and then try to force like neocon, pro-military, pro-intervention, pro-democratic.
They have to infiltrate.
or something.
That's
Like,
it's infiltration. They have to like
fight all these stupid wars. And it's like, yeah, they're trying to use this energy. It's like, so what do you guys want to do? You want to run on Mark Levin's platform? You want to run on Jeb Bush's platform? That's 1% in the polls, man. It's like, so they have to almost rely on running like us, but then, you know, like trying to, I don't know, demonize all of us or something.
That's it's infiltration. They have to like pretend, and then infiltrate, and then try to force like neocon, pro-military, pro-intervention, nonstop bombing of some countries so we can steal their resources and pretend that there was some moral democratic reason that we were there. And people are awake to it. So I do wonder, it seems like they're playing checkers. It's nobody's believing that you're original MAGA. I mean, it's such a weird thing. It's like, they're like, the problem are these people who actually got Trump elected when we were attacking him. Like, the problem are these people. They're so extreme. We're right back.
They were very extreme when they were running for you.
Here, and we're the basket of deplorables. Okay, let's go. Like, and now it's like Trump, I guess, like I said, has joined Never Trump. Or is being controlled by the Never Trump movement. It doesn't matter. Our eyes are clear on this. We know what we voted for. We know why we got behind Trump, and we know that we're not getting it. We're getting like Bitcoin stuff, like it's like pushing, and which is like completely crazy. And like, by the way, also
they getting what, Candace? They getting what? They getting the new word, the new coin for the new world order.
Matter. Our eyes are clear on this. We know what we voted for. We know why we got behind Trump, and we know that we're not getting it. We're getting like Bitcoin stuff, like
Bitcoin,
pushing, and which is
Trump coins,
crazy. And like, by the way, also you are taking advantage of people that believe in you the most. All of it is just so wrong, and it's so icky. We're aware of the deals that Jared is doing while you call us funded by Qatar. The deals that Jared is doing in the Middle East with Qatar and Israel.
Let's go.
They think we're this dumb. And I'm going, wow, like, did you always think we were this dumb? Or actually,
yes,
is it because you're occupied by the Never
yes. Candace. Yeah, precious news flash. Baby, let me tell you one thing. When the blinders come off and we can clearly see, we can see. Do we understand? When the blinders are off, we can clearly see. Let me repeat it. When the blinders are off, we can clearly see what we clearly see. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. We see it now. Let's go.
And Israel, they think we're this dumb. And I'm going, wow, like, did you always think we were this dumb? Or actually, is it because you're occupied by the Never Trumpers? And the Never Trumpers have been explicit in the fact that they think that Trump people are dumb. But we're not this dumb, okay? The original MAGA party is not this dumb. We're aware of what you're doing. We're aware of the infiltration, and we are not going to support that.
Blinders are off.
The sad thing is, as Tucker said when he was on my show a few days ago, he said, you know, if you really ran on an America First message, it's going to be enormously popular. And not just with the right wing. I mean, you could carry half the left wing on that message, too. Maybe not all of them, but you could carry a whole lot of independents.
Well, baby, we know we ain't first or second or third. Oh, let's be clear. It's Israel first. Now I guess it's Qatar second. Putin third. Hell, he done made deals with Ukraine fourth and China five. I mean, we way down there. You know why we way down there with Trump? Because it's at a point now that we are broke. The dollar is useless, right? So yeah, as far as he concerned, we ain't got enough money for him. So all of those people who are making offers and paying debt out for him, oh, they first. So we not first, second, third, fourth, or fifth. Okay, so for the ones who are members only, let's listen to this. Got a little bonus. This is how we gonna end.
Well, how is it that
we gonna end on that route? If you're in here and haven't hit the like button, please do so. I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate you being here and able to get this tea being a member only. You understand? Let's check it out. And wait a minute,
Folks,
it's saying
how
Mo
is it that
3
this is
trial
happening
is
100
supposed to start tomorrow for my Mo 3 folk. I thought it had been moved to February. I mean, yeah, February. Gotta check that out. Long live Mo 3. Long live Young Dog. Long live Charlie Kirk. Let's go. This is how we gonna end out, y'all.
Obviously, a lot of people are going to say these are Semitic conspiracy theories and tropes. Well, how is it that this is happening 100 years later? How is it that someone like a Candace Owens gets banned from Australia because of her Semitic rhetoric when Australia is like maybe 1 or 2%? How is it that we got students getting deported from the United States because of speech that criticizes Israel? They can burn an American flag, no problem, but then they burn an Israeli flag, they're getting deported. The reason why we can talk about this that we got students getting deported from the United States because of speech that criticizes Israel. They can burn an American flag, no problem, but then they burn from Australia because of her Semitic rhetoric when Australia is like maybe 1 or 2%. How is it that we got students getting deported from the United States because of speech that criticizes Israel? They can burn an American flag, no problem, but then they burn an Israeli flag, they're getting deported. The reason why we can talk about this now is because of what happened on October 7th. October 7th happened, people saw all these kids dying, they got red pilled on what's going on, they figured out the history. Anyone with a heart realizes this is
Justice
a
for
genocide
all.
and Israel's in the wrong. The youth are siding with Palestine. Israel doesn't hold the narrative anymore because mainstream media doesn't have the same level of tentacle power that it used to have, and they're panicking.
You've called the Israel-Gaza conflict one of the most misunderstood events in modern history. If you had 2 minutes to explain without censorship, how would you describe what's actually going on?
There's a group of people that have an enormous amount of influence, power, and wealth, that have positions of authority in multiple first world countries, that are not necessarily loyal to their host nation, rather they are loyal to each other. They have been ostracized, removed, kicked out of, expelled out of hundreds of different societies over the course of time. And this has built up a resolve within themselves where they can only depend upon each other. And they will subvert their host nation and host people to support one another through nepotism, favorable practices, to assist each other to ensure their protection. That has culminated into what's now called the State of Israel.
Oh, hold
But
on.
within themselves where they can only
Hold
depend upon
on.
each other.
Did y'all catch that? Holla. He said a lot of good stuff up in there, didn't he? He said a lot of good stuff up in there. Can you say that for us again, my friend? Come on now. Say what now? Say what now?
Out of hundreds of different societies over the course of time. And this has built up a resolve within themselves where they can only depend upon each other. And they will loyal to their host nation, rather they are loyal to each other. They have been ostracized, removed, kicked out of, expelled out of hundreds of different societies over the course of time. And this has built up a resolve within themselves where they can positions of authority in multiple first world countries
Okay.
that are not necessarily loyal to their host nation, rather they are loyal to each other. They have been ostracized, removed, kicked out of, expelled out of hundreds of different societies over the course of time. And this has built up a resolve within themselves where they can only depend upon each other. And they will subvert their host nation and host people to support one another through nepotism, favorable practices, to assist each other to ensure their protection. That has culminated into what's now called the State of Israel. And whether you have someone who is in America or in Canada or in Australia or in New Zealand or in the UK, etc., their allegiance isn't to their home nation, rather it is to Israel a lot of the times. And what's up happening is these people lobby, they spend a ridiculous amount of money, they get positions of power to ensure that resources, support, weapons, whatever it may be, are always delivered to Israel at any cost, even if it means hurting the host nation, because the protection of people in the state overrides all. And for those that don't believe me, this is why they've been able to conduct a genocide in 4K in front of all of us with almost no accountability, because they have went ahead and taken over the most powerful country in the world that puts Israel interests first to our dismay, because our politicians, our infrastructure is controlled by Zionists.
I think an important thing to touch on here is, why do you think you're allowed to say that now, but you weren't allowed to say that a few years ago?
The reason why we can talk about this now is because of what happened on October 7th. For those who are unaware, basically what happened was a bunch of Hamas resistance fighters broke into Israel. There was a lot of people that were killed. Somewhere around 1,200 people were killed, and 200 plus individuals were brought back into the Gaza Strip, is hostages. That's the overall story. What's also important is that when this event occurred, the Israeli government and the mainstream media ran with a bunch of atrocity propaganda lies. 40 beheaded babies, babies in ovens, mass, all these horrible things. And it got so bad that Hamas knew that they were going to level Gaza because they were manufacturing this atrocity to basically justify not just a conflict to destroy Gaza, but to also do an ethnic cleansing. And in mainstream media, no one ever talks about this, but Hamas did put a deal on the table on or about October 10th of 2023, days after the attack, to give all the hostages back in exchange for them not invading Gaza. Now I know someone might be watching this and saying, well, Myra, they committed the worst terrorist attack in Israeli history. Why the hell should they have not, bombed the hell out of them? Well, it's because of what's going on right now. Because what ensued was, not only did the Israeli government deny that deal, they went in and systematically bombed out of Gaza, but they overplayed their hand. They ran in with the lies of babies in ovens and mass. And upon investigation, all of these things were thoroughly debunked. And not only were they thoroughly debunked, we have Twitter. Thanks to Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, people were able to go on their timeline and see babies getting blown up. They were able to see real beheaded babies that are Palestinian, that have nothing to do with this conflict, getting absolutely demolished. They're watching people burning in real time on fire in Rafah. And for the first time, Americans were able to see what's been going on in the Middle East for several decades. Because for the longest time, our government has told us that these terrorists hate us because of our freedoms. But what they don't tell us is they really hate us because we take away their freedoms. And this is what Osama bin Laden talked about in explicit detail in a letter to America back in like 2002, 2003. Now, and I want to make sure I get this timeline so your audience understands this and how we got what I call the Great Awakening now, or the Great Noticing, as some may call it. So October 7th happens. Israel owns with the lies, beheaded babies, mass, etc. Joe Biden spreads this. Western leaders spread this. Everyone gives the green light to Israel. Yes, Jordan Peterson famously, give him hell, Netanyahu, enough is enough, blah, blah, blah. They wage a crazy campaign and start blowing up Gaza, right? Now, videos coming out on TikTok, on Twitter, etc., showing all these innocent people suffering. And this led the young people who weren't indoctrinated by the war on terror, like I was, to ask questions. In the course of asking questions, a letter to America, written by Osama bin Laden, goes viral in November of 2023. In this letter, Osama bin Laden articulates all of his grievances with the West, whether it was the death of Iraqi children from, terrible sanctions, to killing Palestinians, to destroying the Middle East, destabilizing the Middle East. And the bottom line almost always was our support of Israel and how our government is controlled by Israel. Now, I didn't see this letter back when I was young because the mainstream media controlled everything. And they did not put that letter out for a reason saying, well, we don't know if it's going to activate sleeper cells in America. We're not going to put it out. Fast forward 20 plus years later, it comes out. And not only does it comes out to an audience of people that weren't indoctrinated by the Bush eras of propaganda of wars. So they're able to look at it with a fresh set of eyes. And they're like, oh, no wonder they hate us. This guy's lining out like a whole thesis on why they're waging war on the United States. It went so viral that they had to take it down and ban it again because people started talking about it on TikTok. And TikTok, one of the good things about it, besides the stupid censorship for conservatives, is things go viral, they go viral. And it's very difficult for them to put out that fire. It went so viral that people got red-pilled on what was going on. The next thing you know, they start researching this Palestine-Israel conflict. They look at the partition plan in 1947. They look at the Peel Commission in 1937. The Peel Commission in 1937, partition plan in 1947. Then they look at the 1967 war. Then they look at Yom Kippur. Then they look at the occupation. Then they look at the fact that they occupy the Golan Heights in the West Bank illegally. Then they look at how Gaza they had to pull out in 2005. And as people do their history, they start to realize, wait, hold on one second. You're oppressing these people for decades, and you're mad that they're resisting? What the f is going on here?
Wait a minute. Back that
Fast
thing
forward
up.
20 plus years later, it comes out. And not only does it come out to killing Palestinians, to destroying the Middle East, destabilizing the Middle East. And the bottom line almost always was our support of Israel and how our government is controlled by Israel. Now, I didn't see this letter back when I was young because
The government is controlled by Israel. The government is controlled by Israel.
the mainstream media controlled everything. And they did not put that letter out for saying, well, we don't know if it's going to activate sleeper cells in America. We're not going to put it out. Fast forward 20 plus years later, it comes out. And not only does it comes out to an audience of people that weren't indoctrinated by the Bush eras of propaganda of wars. So they're able to look at a fresh set of eyes. And they're like, oh, no wonder they hate us. This guy's lining out like a whole thesis on why they're waging war on the United States. So viral that they had to take it down and ban it again because people started TikTok. And TikTok, one of the good things about it, besides the stupid censorship for conservatives, is things go viral, they go viral. And it's very difficult for them to put out that fire. It went so viral that people got red-pilled on what's going on. The next thing you know, they start researching this Palestine-Israel conflict. They look at the partition plan in 1947. They look at the Peel Commission in 1937. The Peel Commission in 1937, partition plan in 1947. Then they look at the 1967 war. Then they look at Yom Kippur. Then they look at the occupation. Then they look at the fact that they occupy the Golan Heights and the West Bank illegally. Then they look at how Gaza they had to pull out in 2005. And as people do their history, they start to realize, wait, hold on one second. You've been oppressing these people for decades, and you're mad that they're resisting? What the is going on here? Right? You're living in an apartheid ethno-state where these people have no rights, and they're being held down by a group of people. And then what's even worse is, oh, we pay for this. Before October 7th, most Americans didn't even know what the word Zionism was. Most Americans couldn't even point out where Gaza was on a map. But after October 7th happened, and TikTok blew this topic up, etc., people got red-pilled on this very quickly. And the people that got red-pilled were the young people that weren't as indoctrinated or like the boomer audience and people from my generation, because we always grew up thinking Osama was the worst guy ever, they hate us for our freedoms, all this other stuff. But then we figured out that the war on terror was a lie. Obviously, it took me 10 plus 20 years to figure this out, but that's what happened. It got so bad that Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL and multiple other groups, pro-Zionist groups, said, we need to deal with TikTok. We need to deal with this. Because at the time, it was about 70% pro-Palestine versus about 30% pro-Israel. And it was one of the few social media platforms that the Zionist lobby didn't have control of. So what do they say? We need to ban this thing. Now, to put things into context for you of how much influence they have, this is not the first time they talked about banning TikTok. Back in August of 2020, there was discussion about banning TikTok because it was Chinese spyware. The bill was brought to the floor. Trump said he was going to do it. They never did it. Fast forward to 2023, 2024, the Zionist lobby talks about it being a problem. Now they're actually going to do it. And I want this to really stick with your audience. When it came to national security for the United States of America against one of our biggest adversaries, China, they kicked the can down the road. When it came to the figuring out that people are waking up to their crimes, they got it banned. And that should tell you right then and there that Israel's national security overrides our own. Not only did they get it banned, they got it banned for 24 hours, it comes back. Trump fought to keep it up because TikTok was instrumental to his 2024 campaign. He gets it back, and a lot of Americans obviously rely on it for income and all this other shit. So it comes back for a day. But when it comes back, you can't say Free Palestine, you can't put in watermelon emojis, you can't say from the river to the sea, all this stuff. That wasn't good enough. So then, what happens? They buy it. Larry Ellison buys it. Who's Larry Ellison? A billionaire tech guy who is one of the biggest donors to the IDF. Oh yeah, and by the way, right? So they procure TikTok, and Trump basically had kept TikTok kind of like, alive in America, pending an American company buying it. But it's not that they bought it because of Chinese spyware. They bought it to control the narrative and reel in some of this anti-Israel stuff. And just to bring things full perspective, this was such a problem to them that Jonathan Greenblatt went to like Knesset, which is like the equivalent to like the Israeli, think of like the Senate and Congress kind of combined in one for them. He went over there and talked to the Israeli government saying, yo, we got a TikTok problem. We have an anti-Semitism problem, but it's not by platform, it's by age, it's by demographic. And he was figuring out that the youth do not support Israel. Why is this a problem? Because Israel only exists and is protected by the United States. If the young people do not believe in the Zionist mission and aren't indoctrinated to protect Israel, these people are eventually going to become politicians, legislators, people with influence. And if they don't support Israel, it's not going to be long until Israel won't exist anymore because they're surrounded by their enemies. So they understood that this is a big problem that they need to get ahead of. That is why Larry Ellison purchased it. That is why one of the main moderators for TikTok now is a former IDF Unit 8200 individual, which think of that as like their functional equivalent of NSA, right? They do a lot of signals intelligence, etc., Unit 8200 within IDF. And then you look at Facebook, Jordana Cutler. She's also used to work under Netanyahu, and she's the head of Israeli/Palestinian type content. And it's been overwhelmingly censored on Facebook now too. So when I say that they have control in every major infrastructural point, who runs Instagram? Adam Asari. Who runs Facebook/Meta? Mark Zuckerberg. Who runs the trust and safety for that? Jordana Cutler. Who runs TikTok now? Larry Ellison. Right? Who ran YouTube for years? Susan Wojcicki. Right? It's like, at this point, it's like, what the hell is going on? Who founded Google? Sergey Brin. Now, some people might say, oh, Myron, you're just conspiracy theorist, blah, blah, blah. It's like, is it really a coincidence or is it a coincidence. I think it's a coincidence because all these have power in these different infrastructure points that are vitally important. Big tech, government, lobbies, and we can see that they are using their influence to their benefit. And now, if you get on TikTok, you can't even talk about AIPAC. So what's happened is October 7th happened. People saw all these kids dying. They got red pill on what's going on. They figured out the history. Anyone with a heart realizes this is a fucking genocide and Israel's in the wrong and it's an illegal occupation. The youth are siding with Palestine. Israel doesn't hold the narrative anymore because mainstream media doesn't have the same level of tentacle power that it used to have, like in my generation, and they're panicking. This is why Benjamin Netanyahu now is starting to do more interviews. This is why they got a bunch of influencers that are out here getting paid $7,000 per post to post pro-Israel propaganda.
First, I want to say you did a really good job of summarizing 2,000 years of history to be the most relevant to what people should learn right now.
Yeah,
so
thank
applaud
you.
you for that. And second, I'm not getting paid $7,000 to ask this question, but are you?
Well, I know that for a fact because you brought me on. The fact that you brought me on in itself, though, I know you're not one of these shills.
What, to your understanding, is Israel's argument, and is there any part of it that you kind of agree with?
So their argument is we have a right to defend ourselves. We've always been persecuted. We've always been expelled. This is the first time that we've had our own home, and we have a right to exist. And to that, I want to be very clear. I don't hate people. They're people of the book. I'm Muslim. I love my Christians as well. So I don't have a problem with people. And actually, I don't think that, Israel should be destroyed. A lot of people might say, whoa, hold on, Myra, wait, I thought you were like anti-Zionist. My thing is, Israel has a right to exist, but so do the Palestinians. So let's figure something out here. Whether it's a two-state solution or a one-state solution, we have to fix this problem.
I get that.
The reason why this conflict happened, because no one ever talks about
As
why.
long as the evil.
It's a two-state solution or a one-state solution. We have to fix this problem and figure something out here. Whether it's a two-state solution or a one-state solution, we have to fix this problem. And the reason why this conflict happened, because no one ever talks about why October 7th happened. There's a multitude of different reasons, but I'll say one of the big reasons is because they've been occupying these people and they keep kicking the can down the road of the Palestinian question. Benjamin Netanyahu has done everything in his power to keep the Palestinians from having any type of rights determination and sovereignty. He's not going to do it because was behind Yitzhak Rabin being assassinated. I don't know if you want me to go down all that history and everything else like that. But Israel's never going to have peace until they recognize the Palestinians' right to self-determination and having either a two-state solution or a one-state solution where you bring them in. The reason why they don't want to do the one-state solution is because there's a lot of Palestinians, and then they would lose the majority presence. It needs to be a majority because they don't want the Palestinians to come in, vote their own people in. Obviously, their birth rates are higher. So that's what
But he's not even
we gotta figure something
real.
out, because I think all people should be able to live in some level of security with dignity and peace. But you cannot sit there and say your right to exist overrides someone else's right to exist and not expect those people to try to destroy your ability to exist now because you're trying to destroy theirs. And that's the problem. The Israelis exercise the very that they condemn Hamas for. The state of Israel was created through them, right? The only difference between them and Hamas is they were smart enough to rebrand. The Haganah, Irgun, Lehi gangs, these were all Zionist paramilitary organizations that killed thousands of Palestinians and displaced over 1 million when you talk about the Nakba to create the state in 1948. Which is that they rebranded so that they're not
1948. I keep wanting us to understand that as long as we are talking about 1948, Bibi Netanyahu and everything that surrounds him and that Zionist stuff is fake. It's not biblical. It's not real. It is man created. Yeah.
Over 1 million when you talk about the Nakba to create the state in 1948. Which is that they rebranded so that they're not anymore. But I would argue if you're going to
rebranded,
which is basically enacting violence to push some type of political ideology, Israel is far more guilty of that than Hamas, Hezbollah, the IRGC, the Houthis. All of these institutions were created to combat Israel, if we're going to be honest. But this is the stuff that no one wants to talk about because they don't want to have these difficult conversations about our greatest ally being the main perpetrator of all the problems in the Middle East. So if Israel wants peace, I think they have the right to peace. But that needs to come with bringing peace also alongside your brothers that you're sharing the land with, that you stole from, the Palestinians.
That you stole
You need to give them some semblance of a state, or one state, or two state, whatever it is. Otherwise, you're never going to have peace. And the problem with the Israelis is they think that their right to exist overrides other people's right to exist. And for that, this is why they always have perpetual war.
All right, y'all. There we go. Members, everybody. hopefully the people who had to leave because they would not hit the like button, hopefully when they catch the replay, they will hit the like button. T-sippers that have memberships, I hope you enjoyed the privacy at the end and the extra tea. Okay? If you didn't hit the like button coming in, make sure you hit the like button going out. And I do have another live coming up later on. Yeah, because a lot of stuff is going on. And let me check on that Mo 3, because they're saying that there may be a trial starting tomorrow, or maybe they have old information. Not sure. But I will be back. Okay?